starring the one and only Nomad.
Yo, no maniacs. Welcome to the show. This is Nomad at Night with my guy Triple R. And we hopefully Kedz will come in here at some point. He's out of contact right now. That's unusual for him. I don't know what may not be going on with him, but hopefully everything is all right. Everybody's safe, warm in Canada and everything. And so are you, Trips, and everybody that's watching the show. I see Minister Charles was the first person I seen in there. Shout out to Black Diamond. Who else do I see? Joseph Archer, Marco King, Marlon Johnson, Miguel Goncalves. We might talk about some food tonight because I thought about you today when I was doing some stroganoff, Miguel Goncalves. I'll tell you a little bit more about it if you want me to later on. But, man, here we are stuck watching some more playoff action that doesn't involve the Chicago Bears. And on top of that, we're watching a quarterback that is highly outplayed our quarterback all year long, and he's looking good so far in this game. That's Jaden Daniels. And anybody that wants to see, the game play-by-play, I can put that on the screen. All y'all got to do is give it a thumbs up. If y'all want to see it on the screen, we can do that. But before I get started, let me pass it on to my guy Triple R for a few pleasantries before we get going.
Big up to all the No Maniacs, everybody tuning in live right now and on demand. It's good to be here. Bad to not be in the playoffs again. And it's like the playoffs are on. Hey, cool. Who are we hiring as head coach? What are we doing on our squad? Because we ain't winning no Super Bowl.
It's hard to watch this, man, because one, the Bears aren't playing, and it's two, it's that old feeling of what could have, should have, and would have been. And I'm not going to get too much into a trip because I might get into a tangent I might regret it. But, man, it is hard to watch this football game knowing that we have the talent. And nobody expected Washington to be here. You know what I mean? Nobody expected them to be up at the top of the echelon, around the top of the echelon of the NFC, and even have a chance to be in the playoff game. Here they are in a wild card game. And, some good games that happened earlier today, but it's interesting. I think Washington's going to beat Tampa Bay one way or the other. I just really think they are, man. This kid has got, he's got an old soul to him, man. He's got a great clock in his head and poised like a big dog. I think they're going to beat Tampa Bay. And I think there's two coaches on this field right now that potentially could be in this building next year, and that's Cliff Kingsbury. And if Tampa Bay loses this game, there's talk about moving on from Todd Bowles. And I think he would be a great defensive coordinator to, the mess that we had in Chicago this year, man. This guy really, he plays a really good hybrid 4-3 front, and he fits everything that we do here. But I think there's two coaches out there, Trips, right now that could be in the runnings for being in Hallis Hall next year.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I don't know how, quick like Bowles would be like, oh, man, I got fired as head coach. Yeah, let me get that DC position. He may want to take some time off. He may want another head coaching job. He may want to go to college. Who knows? Because we got to remember for the potential head coaching prospects and coordinators, they all have choice in the matter. And, you look at the other jobs that are available, one's down, but the other ones that are out there, and they, have their attractiveness as well. So it's not like the Bears are the only team out here looking for a head coach and we get a pick of the litter. There are other teams out there and they got money too.
You know what? You talking about pick of the litter. We need to talk about some coaches too real quick. Because there's a story out there, and I've been following this for the past 48 hours. We were supposedly the front runners, and I've been looking at the major reporters, some of the local reporters in the area of Detroit and in the area of Vegas. Local reporters, they do local stuff, and some of the national reporters. And it's being reported that Tom Brady and the Vegas Raiders are the kind of the front runners right now to get Ben Johnson. And I just want to, I know a lot of people here don't want to really hear that, but it's the truth, man. You think about some of the stuff that we've been saying on the show trips. We've been saying it for a couple, 2-3 weeks now. After what's his name, Kevin Warren, I think he stepped in it when he got he saw that opportunity in front of Ryan Poles, and he stepped in it. And some of the conversations that are being held nationally and locally are questioning, was that a good idea that Kevin Warren did that now, because people are questioning the hierarchy. Like, what's the power structure here? It don't look good, man. And so I don't think we're going to get the pick of the litter. If everybody thinks that Ben Johnson is the pick of the litter, I really don't think we're going to get him, Trips.
Well, it's hard to say that the Bears' job is a number one opportunity for a head coach. When you look at, just from Ben Johnson's perspective, if I can put myself in his shoes, it's like, do I want to go to Chicago? They got Caleb Williams. They got a decent roster, I guess. The GM, Ryan Poles, he looks like he's willing to work with, anybody who's his coach, to get the players that they want. He doesn't seem to overstep in that area. He's working with the coach. So that's an attractive thing. But more attractive, I would think, for an offensive guy would be, oh, shit, working under Tom Brady? That has its own advantages right there. Plus, they fired, the Raiders did, their general manager, who had a very good draft last year. After, 1 year, they got rid of him to say, hey, let's get everybody on the same timeline, general manager, head coach, and all that. So they're resetting that. Somebody I saw online was like, well, the Bears are closer playoff roster than the Raiders. Looks like that may be true, but they may take that first year in Vegas, reset the cap situation, trade all their older pieces like a Max Crosby, and build a team from scratch, from the ground up. As opposed to piecemealing. It's like, to try and make a winner out of just what they have, instead of saying, we're going to build this from the ground up the right way and take it from there. That's attractive, I would think, to Johnson.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming to the NFC North, where it's like, oh, shit, the Vikings are tough. The Packers are tough, and the Bears are who knows what the fuck they are. As opposed to going out to the, Vegas out there west, where that division isn't so hard. And it's like, no, Brady's not the quarterback, but he's like the GOAT, as they say. And the opportunity to have him in your front office and work under his tutelage could be attractive. Who's the Tom Brady that the Bears got?
Yeah. Let me reset the conversation, since
you don't have to. I was listening on my way in.
All right, you go ahead and jump in there.
First off, sorry for late, man. My son's here. He had me doing some stuff and gave me this awesome hat. So, that's my excuse. I'll stick to it.
What is it? Get closer. I can't see what it is.
Boom. Calgary Dinos is my son. My son plays defensive end over there. With him back in town, he got some nice little swag. I also got a jacket too, but I figured, still got to represent somehow. You know what I mean? But I don't get it. I don't understand how Ben Johnson could be going to Vegas. There ain't no quarterback over there.
I didn't say he was going. I'm saying that.
I know. I'm just saying how they could be the front runner, right? Like how could they really?
It sounds legit, kid. I'm telling you.
I don't think so. I'm just saying this. They. You know what's funny to me? What's funny to me is like which quarterbacks are which teams are like repeatedly in this head coaching carousel, and our beloved Chicago Bears are always there. I don't have to tell y'all that, but to Raiders fans, the Raiders are always there. It's always us. Like the last time we were having conversations like this, it was, John Gruden's going to go to Chicago. John Gruden's going to Vegas. They're going to give him everything. And that was the conversation 4 years ago. Maybe it was longer than 4. I've lost track at this point. But it's always us versus the Raiders for a head coach, because neither one of us can figure this thing out. I just don't see at this present time. I just don't see it. Where do the Raiders pick? is really my big question. If Ben Johnson's going into a situation where, you know, he can really secure that quarterback and has his eye on somebody in the upcoming draft, it makes sense to me. Those are two huge ifs, right? I'm not sure if the Raiders really have great draft position this time around either. I think Antonio Pierce made it just far enough that well, it's not just Antonio Pierce, it's the whole NFL. NFL as a whole, there's a whole bunch of 5 and 13, 5 and 12 teams or whatever it is. So I just don't see it being all that attractive just because Brady's there. Like, who gives a shit? He was a great quarterback.
Cachet all the time on this, and
but Brady,
because I've been trying to make sense of it after reading all these local reports in Detroit and Vegas, and then when I start hearing the national people kind of echo what the locals are saying in both cities, and I start making sense of it, it does make a whole lot of sense when we just were talking about how Kevin Warren might have stepped in it and kind of blew. I think pedigree. I think Tom Brady has the pedigree as a football player. As an administrator, he has no pedigree. But if I'm Ben Johnson, I might be more attracted to that situation and the stability of it than I would be here in reality. I would.
But if you say there's no quarterback, who says that Ben Johnson likes Caleb Williams?
Exactly.
There's a great question. There's a great question, and that
as
is
opposed to going to Vegas and be like, well, you know, we'll find a reclamation quarterback like Vikings did with Darnold. It's like, you know, maybe they say, hey, we'll sign Justin Fields for a year or whoever is a free agent quarterback, see how they do while we put ourselves in position to draft, you know, whoever we want next year. You know, there's no guarantee or no saying that. It's like, well, if you look at New Orleans, if you look at Jacksonville, the Jets, Patriots has already been hired, you know, but of the available teams, I mean, which one has a quarterback?
Jacksonville, right? Like, so this is like Jacksonville. If we were having the conversation about Jacksonville right now, that makes sense to me. Like, yeah, Tom Brady has cachet, right? Like, but he doesn't have cachet as an owner or in that realm at all. He hadn't done anything in that respect. He just put some money over there, and that's cool. Like, I'm not. He'll make money because he put his money there. He just hasn't done anything in this regard. He's not a businessman at that level. This is still the Mark Davis show. This is still the same team that, again, was looking for a head coach the same time we were looking for a head coach 4 years ago and flushed things out, and now they're looking for a head coach again, right? And we're in the same boat. So the question is, does he like Caleb Williams? That's a great question, Trip, and I kind of think he does. He's said that he has in the past. He also did some interesting things, and those interesting things were in those 2 games against our beloved Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson made it, I think he made it a little bit obvious that he was auditioning. That trip play was a little, and like when it happened is more poignant, right? Like, they were already leading it. There was no way they were going to lose that game. And that little trip up with Jared Goff and that deep shot, that was just a little bit of salt in the wound or to add insult to injury. But really what it was, hey, y'all, I know you're looking for a head coach, and I think I'm that guy. Look what I can do, right? Like, that's how I took that specific play. And then we go back to the more close game, and when the game is close, this guy's calling a shot with Penei Sewell, which is just crazy. But again, it was much more to me that the way it read to me was, I want this job, y'all. This is look what I can do, right? Like, throw it back to bad TV. But that's how I saw those 2 games against the Bears. I'm not sure if they played the Vegas Raiders. Maybe he did say similar things with them. I just don't see it. I like Tom Brady's great and all that, but he's never been an owner before. He has no owner cachet. He's never taken a team to the Super Bowl that he owned before, right? Like, he's been to the Super Bowl a bunch of times. They may have a couple of conversations over the time. It's still Mark Davis's team. He just invested in it.
Well, let me.
Now I remember also, before you go, Nomad, I saw in the comments there scrolling by that Johnson said he was interested in the Bears job. Well, fuck yeah, he's gonna say that. I mean, what are you gonna do?
That's fair.
You're gonna say no, I'm not interested in that job. You're gonna be interested in every open head coaching position there is. Oh yeah, I'm interested in that. Oh yeah, they dynamic. Oh yeah, I'm interested. While your agent's on the phone talking about, look, Vrabel got 17 million. What can we get? Exactly. You know, and if you see Jacksonville coming in at like 15, you know, and then the Bears are like, well, we'll give you 10.
I don't know. Let me address Miguel Goncalves. Thank you for the fight.
Yes, Miguel.
He said the narrative that a head coach is going anywhere just because of a QB is just crazy. The dysfunction of the franchise plays a bigger role. I think I would put an exclamation point and stamp that as approved over here by me, Miguel, because that's exactly my mindset. I believe that that Kevin Warren messed this thing up in ways that we haven't really seen the blowback 100% of. But I believe any guy that has options looks at this situation and is just like, wait, you know what? This ain't cool. You know, if you look at it in its totality, this ain't as attractive as I thought it might be when I first started thinking about this job. You know, this situation is not that good. I'm serious. I just want the No Maniacs and all the fans and supporters that's watching this to understand where I'm coming from. It is not a good thing when you're the president of the team has to go out there in the presser and give his stamp of approval of a GM who nobody was talking about should be let go in the first place. He saw it as an opportunity. And he just messed up some stuff. And if I got options, I like Caleb Williams. I like the potential. I like some of the pieces around here. But this compared to some of these other opportunities out here, that plus we just don't know if these coaches actually really do like Caleb. We like Caleb, but we don't know how other people think of him.
And so, then, you also look at the
hold on, Trip. I gotta hit this. So you don't think anybody was thinking sideways about Ryan Poles until Kevin Warren said so?
There's always going to be a crop of people that's going to be having those conversations, but I didn't think it was that dire. Trips, did you think it was dire enough that Kevin Warren should have been out there in front of Ryan Poles like that at that point?
No, I mean, because we're talking about a head coach, and the head coach is under the purview of the general manager. You know, why is the president out there gabbing about?
Because of all the things I've been saying this last couple of weeks, Ryan Poles at that point lost his head coach. We've gone a couple of weeks now. We're looking at, what does this team look like? And the team don't look great. It starts to add question to his drafting and his personnel capabilities among multiple other things. You know, his ability to field an actual coaching staff, et cetera, et cetera. Like all those things were coming. So I can't blame Kevin Warren for stepping in front of the bullet there and saying, hey, look, we're going to keep the guy. Now, the reason for him really doing that was to either do one of two things, and that is shield Ryan Poles and step in front of the firing squad, which is really what he wound up doing, or step in front of the firing squad in order to fire Ryan Poles when the getting was good, which he didn't do. So here we are. Ryan's still here. I'm not saying he made him look any better. I'm just trying to say that the obvious microscope was like, if it wasn't on Ryan Poles at that moment, it was sure as hell coming.
How about
I don't know what. Say what?
Minimum, could you agree that it was totally unnecessary?
No, this is why I'm asking. I don't know if it's unnecessary because that microscope is coming, right? Like no matter what. Without Flus in the mix in front of Ryan Poles, the questions then become, look at the team that you put together and how did they perform on the field? And we just watch them continue to lose, right? And not only lose, but we watched the defense start to take a step back, which we really didn't see. But I guess, you take out the head coach who's a defensive coordinator. Yeah, I guess the defense should take some sort of a step back too. Regardless, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. All I can say is that eyes were being shot at Ryan Poles at that exact moment, clear up until Black Monday. a lot of folks were calling for his job, and the fact that he still has a job wouldn't have been my pick. But
how about this, kids? Is it understandable to you when I tell you that there's reports out there, credible reports out there, saying that people are side-eyeing this job, whether it be agents or coaches that are actually in this carousel because of that moment? Is it understandable to you?
No, not because of that moment. I think it should be, you know what I mean? I think it should be there. I think it's a much deeper. If you have actual disdain or worry about taking on this role, I think it goes way further than Kevin Warren.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like look at the personnel that you'd be walking into. Look at the GM that you're going to be working with, and what personnel has he put together. Look at the coaching staffs that he's put together. Is this the right guy for you to be working with? Like Kevin Warren is sort of a non-issue, really. Like there's no history of Kevin Warren. You know, if we were talking about Ted Phillips, I would say yeah. You know what I mean? For sure. Ted Phillips has a history of being involved in these type of machinations and meddling within the football operation. Kevin Warren hasn't done anything, and I mean that across the board. Like he hasn't put a shovel in the ground. There's no stadium. He hasn't done anything. He just came out there and basically stood in front of Ryan Poles and said, "Look, he's our guy. He's going to select the next head coach," and then kept his word. Ryan's still here, so you know.
Well, it would have went over a lot smoother if Warren had come out and said, "Hey, you know, he pull a page out of Lovey's handbook. Look, Ryan is our general manager, and he's going to speak to you now about the coaching search."
Then picked up and left. And
right, and just hand it off, and then shut the fuck up for the rest of the conference, as opposed to just doing all of the communications and having Ryan Poles sit there like he's in punishment.
So it's over real quick. It's over 100 in the chat. If everybody do us a favor and hit that like button, man, we'd be greatly appreciative of that. But go ahead.
Do it. Love you guys. Thanks for representing with us. Look, I have to agree with you there, and that leads back to some of my speculation on that 2-hour meeting. I kind of feel like Kevin Warren was the guy leading the charge for Flus to be fired. And again, it didn't look like those two were on the same page, and maybe that's what that was. Maybe Ryan, again, still wanted to stick it out with Flus for a bit longer, mainly rooted, in my opinion, just on the way that it makes, it points a microscope at him. He now has that head coach continuing on deflecting, wax on, wax off, all the negative press, right? Instead, negative press zeroes in on Ryan Poles. And everybody's questioning whether he's going to be here on Black Monday. One more time, Kevin Warren didn't fire the guy. He's still here. I'm not really sure if Kevin Warren has that power, but long story short, Ryan's still here. So I would like to think if you're coming to Chicago and you're interviewing for this job, I hope Kevin Warren is not your concern. Well, I really hope that, because there's way bigger fish to fry here, yo. Much bigger fish to fry.
I just had to take my my Bears cap off for a minute and look at this, just through the lenses. And I got a unique ability to be able to do that sometimes not so much. But sometimes I can take a step outside and just imagine what it might be like for somebody else looking into the situation. We are so entrenched in this stuff. We are steeped in this Bears stuff, the culture, everything about the Chicago Bears. And sometimes I don't know that we have the ability to always look outside of what it might look like for an outsider looking to the inside of what's going on here. And when I did that, I was easily able to come away with that synopsis that, man, this okay, I can see why people are saying that. You know what I mean? But we don't have to beat a dead horse. It's out there. People are talking about it, and I think some of those reports are very, very credible. I don't know that we did ourselves any favors. Does that mean we're going to land our A1 prospect? I think if we knew exactly who we were going to hire, I think that person would be already announced and we would know. But the fact of the matter is that Mike Tomlin, I'm just going to curve a little bit. Mike Tomlin, I've been really getting into what was going to happen. And we had this conversation last time we was together, bros. And I said it. I said, if the Steelers get boat raced like they did the last time they played the Ravens, I think it's a good probability. I didn't say high. I think it's a good probability that there's a good chance that they may not bring back Mike Tomlin. They haven't made any commitments, but I have looked at, there's a guy, I think his last name is Lutz or something. He's an older guy, man, one of the senior reporters on their beat in Pittsburgh. I think it's in the Pittsburgh Gazette. He's reporting that he's hearing word that they're leaning towards bringing Mike Tomlin back. But then there's other people that are saying, they haven't heard anything and anything going one way or the other on whether or not they're going to move forward with Mike Tomlin. But I think we're going to find out Monday. And I think Ryan Poles is holding out. I think we'd probably be in the second phase of interviews if it wasn't for some of these guys that are playing right now in the playoffs, and he wants to interview some of these people. And so I believe Mike Tomlin is on the table in Ryan Poles' eyes. I don't know about in Pittsburgh. People thought that was BS when we started talking about it, but now it's out there.
Well, no, I mean, you can only go so long and not be able to win a goddamn playoff game. I mean, yeah, winning seasons are like, yeah, good, but that's only getting, you ready to win a Super Bowl. And if he has these continuous winning seasons, good, but one and done in the playoffs, bad. And, that gets old. How long are you going to give a coach to be like, look, man, you can't win a playoff game. We keep giving you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And it's been, over a decade, longer than that. So it's like, hey, man, your rope is only so long. I mean, you just don't get to stay at one place forever. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they let him go.
Wow.
8 seasons in a row, bro.
Hey, look, man, you also noticed they haven't their big foray into the quarterback position since Ben Roethlisberger was, oh man, his name was in my head for a second and then it disappeared. In any event, wasn't a very good selection, right? So he hasn't really had a quarterback in 8 years. Facts. You can blame him all you want. The three of us can sit here and all three of us would take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat as Bears head coach. No question. My guy even got a little profile here set up. I'm just saying we would all take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat if they're ready to let him go. How's the saying go? One man's trash is another man's treasure. I think that's one way of looking at it. By all means, have him come over. But I did mention the last time we had this conversation, Mr. Tomlin just recently re-signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very recently. So they'd be cutting him off and owing him a lot of money if they decide to push that reset button right now. And maybe they do, but hey, a lot of money for them to decide to make that decision suddenly. And let's also take into consideration this team shouldn't have been in the playoffs anyhow. Like they shouldn't have been. Right? I don't know. I don't know.
I tend to agree with that.
They shouldn't have been in the playoffs. He coached them into the playoffs. They've got a great defense.
They got a nice roster. I think they come up. Okay. I think they came up lame. Whatever happened with Deontay Johnson that hurt them in the big picture because he was supposed to be a key piece to it. I think another receiver that they had, a rookie receiver that they had, he's been a healthy scratch all year. I think he's a rookie receiver out of Stanford. I can't think of his name right now. One of the Nomaniacs in there can let me know who that rookie receiver was. I can't think of his name right now, but he was supposed to be a major piece. They spent good money in the offseason, getting pieces there to compete. And they had a good roster, but I think their style is, I hate to say that it's outdated and Baltimore just beat them running the ball 50 times. Wow. Run the ball 50 times against them, man, for almost 300 yards.
Bro, look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about the best running quarterback in the league, and we're talking about Derrick Henry. I don't care who you are. You need to figure a way to stop that run. They got run over. Imagine that. Like it was bound. I could have predicted that future, and I don't have to be Nostradamus to do it, but another little factoid is what Katrina's putting down right here. He also has a no trade clause in that contract as far as Mike
He
Tomlin
also
is.
has the ability to. He's the only one that has the ability to waive it. Now,
Yeah.
let me get this off my chest, man, before I forget it, because I'm busy trying to watch all these. Everybody in the chat, keep them coming. I'm gonna get up as many comments as I can. But here's what I think is going on, and I said this. I think when I was talking with FFG on the, we were watching, scouting football players the other day on that, all eyes on future Bears. But one thing I did mention, it just reminds me he's on the same track as Andy Reid was when he was in Philly. Really, just really good, solid coach, always getting them to the dance, always getting them to the party, right? But nothing after that. And it was year after year after year. They get there and no cigar. Same thing is going on here in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. He's getting them there. And so I think there's an argument to be made that everybody needs a fresh start from time to time. I don't think he has the same starch behind his words that he did when he first got there, and people just would run through a brick wall for him. That team looked like they came out better in the second half, but I think his words ring kind of hollow right now. And I think he needs a fresh start, whether or not, people in Pittsburgh, the fans are just done with it. They're just like, get him out of here. Let's get a fresh start. But the organization, I don't know that they feel that way. But I could see him going somewhere else and having a fresh start and being reinvigorated and having an impact right away on a locker room.
Can we get the Pittsburgh fans to move to San Francisco and push Kyle Shanahan out too? So then maybe we can get the choice of either one of these. I don't know. I'm just playing around at this time. I just don't see him picking up and going, you know what? Screw Pittsburgh and leaving. I don't see it. We're acting like this guy's never been to the dance and won. He has. You know what I mean? It's been a little while. There's 32 teams. Only one team wins. You can blame Mike Tomlin all you want. Ain't Mike Tomlin's fault, but we'll see. We'll see if somebody's got to be the fall guy in these situations. Is it Arthur Smith? Is he the fall guy for not playing more Justin Fields? Like, this is the stuff that I'm hearing out there. Come on now, y'all, please, like, by all means, get rid of Mike Tomlin. We'll have him.
Kids, I just know this. In every offseason, I'm surprised by something. It's something that comes down the pipe that nobody saw come. I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin's going to be that surprised. I'm just saying.
I'm laughing because the surprise is going to be the Bears hiring the Toronto Argonauts head coach. That's what the surprise is going to be.
What's your thoughts on Tomlin, Trips? You haven't said a whole lot about this. What do you think about this situation altogether?
Yeah, I mean, he's all right. He just don't do it for me. And I can see him wearing out his welcome in Pittsburgh because after so many years, your words ring hollow if you're saying the same shit. And he hasn't been able to, put together an offense that's, Big Ben. And it's like, well, okay, you're good during the season. What is it that you can't get over the hump in the playoffs, that your teams don't show up when the money's on the line? And, after so many years, he's the lowest common denominator, because they've had several different quarterbacks. They've had several different coordinators, but they still couldn't get over the hump. He's still there. None of them are. So, I mean, it's like, he might be good. He might not. But, like, if I was looking to hire him, I would interview him, see what he got to say, do due diligence. But, this doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I feel y'all, man. I mean, nobody believes anything is possible until things become possible. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I would love to see Chicago trade a whole bunch of assets to get Mike Tomlin. That part gives me pause, straight up, because unless he waives his no trade thing, or they decide to mutually part ways and he gives back a little bit of money and decides that he needs a fresh start and he don't want, if it gets to that point, you know, that's the only thing I have trepidation about bringing Mike Tomlin to Chicago is what you'd have to give up in the situation that we're in. And we ain't in no, we can afford to be giving up a whole bunch for a coach situation, but you know, that's where we are, man.
We can't give up nothing for no head coach.
Oh, we would if we absolutely would if we
brother.
Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, look. If the Bears go throwing draft picks at head coaches, we're screwed till 2027. Let's just put let's just put the facts out there.
Hey, Kedz, right? I think that there's a lot of coaches out here that might already feel that way based on what it looked like this year. Anyway, you're screwed to 27 anyway. This ain't gonna be no quick turnaround. Somebody's just gonna come in here and boom, here we go. Off to the moon we go. No.
I'm just stating facts, and we there's just those holes need to be filled. If we're spending the capital on a head coach, that means they won't be, and we'll have to wait, which just means another season kind of like this one next year, and maybe the year after, depending on how much we give away, right? So don't at this point, I don't think trading for a coach is even remotely on the table. Like, I'm sure Ryan Poles might be thinking maybe, but good Lord, that really sets us behind the 8 ball in a major way.
I think it does, but you never know what might happen. Here's one that we haven't talked about yet.
Argonauts.
So Mike Vrabel is a favorite of a lot of people. A lot of people favorite Mike Vrabel. I would say this. I said this at the very beginning. I don't want no New England Patriots retreads going on here, and it's already been reported that he's already been hired by the Patriots, and it's being reported that he's definitely bringing Josh McDaniels with him. That's the first thing that went to my head was okay. If they go after Vrabel, they're gonna bring Josh McDaniels with them, and we're gonna be trying to do the Patriot stuff all over again. And so, let me shut up for a second. Mike Vrabel's gone. He's a New England Patriots. What do you guys say about it?
Wow. Remember that thing I was saying about seeing the future crystal ball? This is probably the most obvious thing to happen ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say. He's a former Patriot, has cachet, also has head coaching. He has head coaching experience. Been to a couple of playoff games, I believe. Whoopie hoo ding dong. What I will say is that he went. He apparently had some pretty good interviews elsewhere, including here in Chicago. Right, the interview went well. I did a little bit of studying on this guy this week, and I started to really like him a little bit more. I got to notice his rapport with his team and how he's a little, although folks are going to lean towards him being a disciplinarian, he has a really good rapport with his team. And I appreciated that. I thought that it would help really rebuild this locker room here in Chicago, right? So I got to give Vrabel a little bit more love here today, now that he's gone, than I did a couple of, the last time we had this similar conversation. But in the end, that's where he was going.
Yeah, I never thought it was a question. I mean, he has history there. They wanted to, move on.
Break live while we was doing Extra Sauce Wednesday that he was, when it broke that they
fired Gerard Mayo.
Yeah, I think it broke on the show when we did it when we did it Wednesday. We knew right then and there. Instinctively, we knew it. Wasn't nobody on the panel that disagreed with, they're gonna hire Vrabel. So everybody knew it.
Yeah. And I saw there were some people upset that it's like, well, how did the Patriots, fire their coach, do the Rooney Rule interviews, and hire a coach within a week, but the Bears couldn't? It's like, well, Vrabel was available. He's not coaching any place now. He's not in the playoffs, so he's a free agent basically, and they can sign him whenever they want it, and they did. So that day that they had the two Rodney Rule interviews with Pep Hamilton and the other dude, it was like, oh yeah, they getting that shit out the way so they can hire their boy. And it was like, pretty obvious. 17 mil a year. I saw that. That's more per year than he made in his entire playing career. And so it's like, man, I can get paid. I can go back to some place I have history, and I can be in charge of everything. Come on, what's not to like?
You found that 17 million number somewhere?
Yeah, it was must have been on Twitter.
Okay. Well, I just know this. It's a perfect place for him to be. You know, I think he would have been okay in Chicago. As a matter of fact, I think if given the time, like most coaches, he can get it right. With the right assets, he can get it right. You know, I think we had some stuff here in Chicago. I think he could have got. I think it took taken him a couple of years. Like I still think it will in New England. I think New England's a couple of years away from being a serious competitor. But you know, we're kind of in the same boat. We thought we were a whole lot better than New England, but it turned out that we weren't. So good for Mike Vrabel. He got money.
Whoa! You can't say that.
What?
Like because he's he's a Patriot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what did I say?
You said that you just said that, you know, we kind of lost out on Mike Vrabel. I can't really say we lost out, right? Okay. You know what I mean? Like he was going there. It was clear as day.
Wrong choice of words. Okay,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump down. No,
he got in the right place. He got in the right place for him. It's a lot of. I guess what I mean. It's a lot of people that had him as their primary number one guy, and so in that regard, we lost out for a whole bunch of people out there. Not for me. He wasn't my number one guy, but you know what I mean. I still think he was a damn good coach, and I thought Tennessee was stupid for letting him go, and obviously they were. Now the GM's gone, and so if that tells you anything. But any other comments about Vrabel before we move to the next subject? No more, because this guy here. Let me get to this. This guy here, Kedz. I don't know if you was busy this weekend, but I texted you to in WhatsApp to let you know that he got an interview. And you know, I was talking to somebody on the phone. They was like, "Man, you think this a Rooney interview?" And I'm like, "Nah, not with Ron Rivera. I think they really interviewed Ron Rivera. I think because Ron Rivera is Latino, you know, people can say, okay, they just trying to get some, you know, some of the Rooney Rule things out of the way. I believe they, in their first couple of Zoom interviews, they probably got that part out of the way because Thomas Brown doesn't count, right? Because he was in the building. So we understand that, right? Thomas Brown didn't count against that Coach Rooney Rule thing out there. So Ron Rivera, man, I let you know that he got an interview. I just want to know, what do you still feel the same about Ron Rivera that you did when we first brought this conversation up? Because you're the one who made me do this graphic.
Well, look, Riverboat's been to the dance. He's taking the team there. He's got that cachet. He's got Super Bowl level cachet. Did he win? Fortunately, they lost the game. End of the day, he's been there. He's taken the team there. He's groomed a number one overall draft pick quarterback, and again, brought him to the dance. He's a former Chicago Bear. My guy did the Super Bowl shuffle, won the Super Bowl with us, right? So he's been to the dance as a player and won. There's some cachet here that can be talked about, and you know, bringing Riverboat back home, I'd have no problems with it, mainly because there's no question as to whether he gives a shit or not. Ron Rivera cares about this team because this team is Ron Rivera. So I'm all for the idea of at the very least interviewing the guy. We'll see how much further it goes. Other things to say. That Rooney Rule it's starting to irk me. Like, I get the purpose, but if everybody's just looking at ways to circumnavigate the Rooney Rule, what's the purpose?
Everybody will try to everybody will do the same thing to people's civil rights, but it's a good thing that those things are laws, right? Like, you need laws, you need legislation in this sport that we love too. And so that to ensure that at least you get people in the building. I don't know how much integrity goes into all those interviews when people don't have the intention to hire these people, but you need legislation like that out there. So I'm on 100%. I don't think you do anything with the Rooney Rule. Matter of fact, you add amendments to it to make it even stronger if you do anything to it. In my opinion.
Because the Rooney Rule, it seems like if the Rooney Rule did not exist, it would be like before, and minorities wouldn't even get an interview.
Right.
So, I mean,
you know what? At this point, I kind of like to have that list. Oh, like you're the team who refused to even interview a minority guy. Got it. You're the team who didn't, who refused to interview a minority candidate. Cool. Giants, like we know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like at least then you can call a spade a spade. Now it's like you can't even call the spade a spade. You kind of got to call him the Giants.
I mean, these billionaires,
I'm sorry, New York Giants fans out there, but y'all know what it is.
These billionaires have thick skin because they got large bank accounts. They don't care about what people say about them on the outside. Only thing that affects them are rules, legislation, and things like that force them to have to do things that they don't want to do and force them to have to be open-minded to change in society. You know what I mean? Just because a guy isn't somebody that you would go out and sit down and have a beer with or whatever, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean it's somebody you ought to consider for one of your jobs. So I think there's a lot of power in that legislation, and I just think that anything in regards to getting rid of the Rooney Rule is nuts to me, because can you imagine where you got to remind yourself where this game came from? This game came from a league full of people that don't look like me, you, or Trips, and nobody else could play. And those teams own those same people own all those teams, and to this day it's the same. Just their children own these teams, or some of them might have got sold here and there, but that's, you got to have legislation to keep balance out there. So I think it's important.
I don't know. I just find it interesting. It is clearly, these guys just trying to get around. They're just trying to circumnavigate this whole thing, and I don't blame them for doing it either. I mean, like, let's call spades spades. If you're just a flat out racist owner, be a flat out racist owner. It's fine. Like, nobody gonna watch your team. There's a bunch of minorities who live in your country. It's a melting pot. Quite frankly, there's a bunch of minorities all over the world who will take issue with this. They'll picket and cause ruckus in the streets about it. But at this point, they're kind of acting like, we let the brother in the door. We talked to him about 15 minutes. We let Chico in. We had a taco, and then we hired the white dude. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I would rather sometimes just things be the way that they actually are, so I can call them what they are. You know what I mean? But let's move away from the Rooney Rule, because I don't know what you do with it at this point.
Well, I don't think Chico was a Rooney Rule interview.
Me.
I think it was like, he has history, let's give him a holler. But I don't see him as current or future head coach material. I know he has his history, but, this new generation of kids coming out who are already millionaires, how is his communication skills with them? How is he able to connect and reach them? And that's something that a head coach nowadays has to address that previous generations didn't. I mean, it's the same game, but it isn't. It's a lot softer. The players are, this new generation of softies, which, Ryan Poles probably communicates well with crying of having to cut him or some shit. But it just seems like Chico, the game has passed him by.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. It's what Trips just said. That's the hardest thing to discern is how much vigor and fire and desire, and what kind of punch can he bring into the locker room. And I mean by punch, spirit, all that vitality that a coach's spirit brings to the locker room, and how much juice he can bring. I think that's kind of what you're saying, Triple R, or are you saying his play style and his
play style, communication, how much juice can he bring? would these kids nowadays, respect, old ass bear who, got to a dance once, as a head coach, but his overall record as a head coach is very lackluster. And it's like, what are you bringing to the table other than maybe discipline and nostalgia?
Okay, so if you feel that way, then you might feel similarly about Lovey. Do you think his style is dated?
Yeah.
You do?
I mean, any like this, the generational thing has flipped over. I want to say since like the NIL thing, but pretty much since then that these college athletes, it's different now. Whereas you went to college, you stayed for 4 years, you built up that camaraderie, you built up the program, and you moved on to the pros if you were that good. Nowadays they're one and done, and they're getting, $10 million for one season. What kind of teamwork, what kind of camaraderie are you building when you have these hired, athletes just coming in for a year, getting their money, doing a few co-eds and bouncing? It's just different as far as the team building and the maturity level of a lot of these athletes. And the hard ass like Vrabel or the disciplinarians like a Chico, it's like the discipline is one thing, but the way you discipline is another. And if they're like old school football, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do that, as opposed to being able to communicate like with the younger generation, I just don't see it with Chico. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I just don't see polls or any of the 1,000 people that are doing the interviews in Hallis Hall saying, out of all the head coaching candidates, Ron Rivera is our guy.
So do me a favor, Nomad. Can you drop can you pull down the Chico for me, please? I want to share something real quick. Just to dovetail off of where Triple R was, right? So my thoughts here and what kind of changed my mind about Mike Vrabel was seeing this. This is Mike Vrabel just kicking it with his team. And to me, that's kind of crazy. It shows the type of locker room camaraderie that he'd bring to the building. And I'll stop sharing that now. And that's really what Triple R is questioning with Ron Rivera. Like, Ron Rivera ain't doing all that with his team. He's a little bit up in the age. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a little bit up in age. He's been battling some health stuff. He's not that guy. So, I don't know what kind of
who else probably ain't that guy, Kedz?
Say what?
You know who else probably ain't that guy?
Maybe Pete Carroll.
Maybe Andy Reid, who just won the last couple of Super Bowls. You know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from. I know exactly what you mean.
Maybe what I'm saying is overrated.
Because what my mind goes to similar places when it comes to some of these coaches. And how do I see them? Because I know how I would respond in the locker room to a certain type of coach. I know exactly what it feels like to have a lame-ass, stick-in-the-mud coach that is pretty much like, okay, man, hurry up and get done talking. We got you, dog. We're going to go on the field and do what we need to do. Versus that coach that can come in there and give you that extra bit of juice that you need to go out there and make you want to really, really play for him. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. But there's I think it's a place for either one of them. Because if one way was right and one way was wrong, then we wouldn't have an Andy Reid, right? We wouldn't have an Andy Reid. Pete Carroll is really like that. Like that, he's like that, what you just showed on the screen behind the scenes.
Really?
Yeah, he really is. So what say you about that, Trip?
Yeah, I don't see Ron Rivera just connecting on that level with the
team
or the kids nowadays. Pete Carroll, that's his thing. He's that guy. He's too fucking old, but he's that guy. I don't know about the other candidates and their demeanor or anything like that as well. But if you look at some of the other candidates, they have a more recent history of having success with this new generation of players and the mentality that they have.
I hope we're going to talk about Jim Caldwell at some point today, maybe,
Well, you
because
just brought it up, so let's talk about
he's MC Fact been spitting facts all evening here. I seen a couple of his chats, and I'm like, damn, I've been meaning to bring him up, but then this popped up, and yeah, like he's one of them other guys, and me and Triple are kind of glossed over it there the last time we were talking on Extra Sauce, but he's one of them guys who has that cachet, that Super Bowl caliber, that offensive side of it too, and that's kind of interesting to me. Right. So, what do you think about Jim Caldwell as a potential? I know they haven't announced anything along the lines of talking to him or anything like that. But what do you think of Jim Caldwell, Trip?
Well, he's respected. He has history, and he's an offensive guy, which is important to a lot of people. I could see Caldwell, if he was hired as a head coach, bringing in his buddy, Thomas Brown, as offensive coordinator wherever he's at. Because they got history, and they are on the similar wavelength as far as offenses go. I don't think I've seen his name as an interview candidate.
Oh no, he's not.
So it's like, he might be a good option with history, with being able to communicate with the younger generation as he's had success, but he ain't even a candidate. So.
Yeah, Jim Caldwell. That's interesting, man, because he's so respected around the league. Like he's like your coach's favorite coach. He's like one of those guys, like your favorite coach's favorite coach. Like he is that good at what he does, in particular on the offensive side of the ball and with quarterbacks. He is really good at that. You know what I mean? With so many years steeped in the business. It's easy to understand why his name comes up, but I don't think, just being honest, man, I don't think he's going to get a sniff at another head coaching job ever. You know what I mean? I think his time has passed. Whether it's fair or not for me to say that, I believe the NFL and the ownership probably sees it that way. I mean, if it wasn't so, he'd already be a coach somewhere on somebody's team again, right? And so. That's just the way I see that. People could say that same thing about Ron Rivera. I get all that too. But the truth of the matter is, I think we may be overlooking. People might be saying that about Rex Ryan. I don't think you can get too old to coach and really bring something to a team. That's why I don't totally look over Pete Carroll. That's why I don't totally look over him. I know he can bring something to the table. It's about whether or not you think it's a good idea to do it right now. I think Pete Carroll's a damn good coach. I always have thought he was. Really good at the draft. He's great at identifying talent too. So I think there's two things that he can bring to the table immediately that would help Chicago. But that's one thing. Here's another, because this guy got interviewed, and I just found that out right before the podcast. And so, of course, this interview probably was via Zoom. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a face-to-face interview. Or it could have been, because they're not playing right now. So the reality is, let me get the screen right so we can see everybody. So Aaron Glenn was interviewed. What do you guys think this was a face-to-face interview, since the Lions do have a bye this week?
No. What I heard up front was that Dan Campbell agreed to these guys going to have their whatever interviews they wanted during the playoffs, but it all has to be by Zoom. That was what I heard. I'm glad that both of them have had the opportunity to interview with the Bears. I think both should. I think both should and will perform well in an interview. Right. I think Aaron Glenn is a great candidate. Personally, I'm just going to say this. I'm on the other side of this. I know Nomad is leaning defense. I'm leaning offense this time. I'd like to see them score. I'd like to see the Bears score points. Crazy, I know, but that's where my headspace is, and it unfortunately clouds my Aaron Glenn conversation. That's really where I am. But I wouldn't be angry if they if they went with an Aaron Glenn. I wouldn't be angry. Personally, though, I'm hoping for some sort of an offensive resurgence for this team, though. That's where my headspace is.
You know, Glenn, as defensive coordinator for Lions, had his hands full because, you know, his entire unit damn near went out on IR.
Yeah.
You know, he still had these kids off the street ready to play. You know, they were outclassed and overmanned and out-talented, but they gave what they could, and he got the best out of them. But, you know, the scuttlebutt around the water cooler is that being a former Saint, that they like him down there, and that may be where he ends up.
That's an interesting call.
I think the Jets. Last time I heard the Jets. I heard the Saints too, Trip. So you ain't the only one that heard that. But I can definitely see him if Rex Ryan doesn't get that job in New York as a Jet too. Now I haven't really run down that story about the Saints, but I have heard it. But the Jets seems like, because he's a former Jet. You know what I mean? He
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, he's a former Jet. Starting corner with the Jets.
Yeah, he played for both.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know he played for the Saints.
Really, didn't he? And
maybe he probably did. Probably
He did.
later in his career, but he spent like a long time with the Jets, man. Long time. But here's what I think. And to Tripp's point, man, you know, I know that they weren't ranked the highest defense in the league or one of the highest defenses in the league, but I don't know a team that dealt with more serious injuries and was able to fight back and put their team. I mean, he got those boys to fight. I mean, it was practice squad player after practice squad player, you know, grabbing guys off the waiver wire here, getting people off of other practice squads and making it work. Time after time, I've seen that the Lions were in that. They were moving pieces around on that defense the entire year. And somehow or another, this dude right here, Aaron Glenn, got those dudes to play for him. And they played like demons for him. And so what I've heard about Aaron Glenn is he is a hell of a leader of men. And you get people out here now saying that, oh, this leader of men thing is way overrated, it's being oversaid. No, it ain't. Anybody that says that ain't played no damn football and don't know shit. Period.
Well, that's why when Glenn Morgan was on, and I asked the question, it's like, who's the alpha on this coaching staff? And nobody could answer. It's like, well, it's definitely not Flus. You know, Washington, no. I don't think we have one. And that's part of the problem where all the players are talking about, we need to be coached harder. We need a man to lead us because we're men. And so you need that alpha dog leader who gets the respect of his pack. You know, that lead wolf, if you will, where the rest of the pack goes, yes, sir. Yes, coach.
Yep.
Yes, coach. And Aaron Glenn's that kind of coach. Whereas Flus definitely wasn't. It was like, yo, goofy ass out of here. You know what I mean? And then just walk off and he wouldn't say shit. Whereas if you disrespected a coach like that, he'd be like, what the fuck did you just say? Get your
I'll
ass
put
over
hands
here.
on your ass in a minute now.
Get your ass over here. And it's like, sorry, coach. You know, because you know you fucked up. Whereas if you do not respect the coach, it's like, yeah, whatever. I don't get that, yeah, whatever from Glenn. I get the it's like, yes, sir, coach.
I think what's going on, Trips, is I think so many people are in the trench and, you know, about to go to battle ready to go to battle in this offseason for Ben Johnson. You know, you got a lot of podcasters that are out here like us that really put emphasis on make sure you get the right coach, not just this head coach and this guy that's supposed to be so magical for Caleb. If you put all the emphasis on that, you're going to end up with the wrong guy. And for people that know this stuff and really play, and when you know what a locker room culture is like, and you talking about just getting a guy in here that's suitable for a quarterback and an offense and not addressing everything that needs to be addressed, then you wouldn't understand where we're coming from. Naturally, you would not have any idea what we're talking about right now because you can't relate to it. But the truth is, you better have the right man in that room. You want to keep everybody's attention? Have the right man in fucking front of them.
So that like this is the area where he shines, right? He was able to sort of take a lackluster group that considering just everybody was injured and keep them engaged and help them perform well. Again, Aaron Glenn is, as you've stated, a leader. Man, my question is Aaron Glenn just like the consolation prize coach?
Depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you to.
Shit, it depends on who wins. Whoever the coach is that wins, it could be a college coach turned head coach like a Freeman. It could be a ex head coach like a Carroll or a Caldwell. It could be a first time coordinator like a Johnson. Who I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. But as long as they win, they make the right choice.
So
they didn't win, then
that's
they
so important though. Like I think you hit the nail on the head. So if these lines win the Super Bowl, then he's a believable character that men may line up behind. Let me just sort of put that out there as well. If somehow Detroit screws this up, Don Burr, I'm staring squarely at you, bro. If somehow Detroit's, yeah, I would be a little bit more surprised if Aaron Glenn is the selection.
So
mainly because like what is that locker room getting behind? You're just getting behind a guy who hasn't really done anything.
I'm gonna answer your question as straight up as I can. Is he one of those guys that just like the consolation prize kind of guy?
Yeah,
I don't think so, man. I think if and that's a me trying to mind frame Ryan Poles, and that's impossible for me. But if I'm in Ryan Poles' seat, I'm looking at the guy that captivates me and what I know that this guy can go in my locker room and captivate my players and have his players play to the level that they want them to. That's all I care about. Which guy helps me go in that locker room and get these guys to play up to their par. Get them to par. And if you can get them above par, great. And so I don't look at him as a consolation prize. I think he's going to be a great coach. I don't know if it's going to be in Chicago. If you want to know the truth about it, if I had to guess, he's probably not Ryan Poles' first pick. But you don't know what happened after he interviewed. How well did he impress Ryan Poles? Because the reports out of Hal Hall says he was very impressive in an interview. And so if I'm getting my butt kicked constantly getting my ass kicked by this team, and somebody from this team is in my face, and I get to interview him and ask him, what do you think this team needs, and what would you do to go about getting them where we need to go to? And after that conversation, you could imagine this guy is probably impressed with Aaron Glenn because they know exactly what to do. You get the right people in the building. What I mean by that is get the right personnel. You draft the right players. You get the right players in free agency. I bet you that was part of the conversation. That's what got them where they are.
And I'm sure a question came up being that he is a defensive minded guy. What is your plan for offensive coordinator? Who are you wanting to fill your staff with? And from there, you extrapolate, how do I like that possible offensive coordinator working with Williams? You can look at it from that aspect as opposed to, well, what is Glenn going to do for Williams? It's like, nah, Glenn is for the team and probably the defense, but his offensive coordinator, what kind of offense are you planning to run? That would be the next most important question, I would think.
So Kedz, before you go, one thing we have to mention is that Ryan Poles his first time at the presser, he said that we're going to take the North and never give it back. Well, guess who's been owning the North? It ain't been
everybody but the Chicago Bears.
Yep. And right now, these are the kings of the North. And ain't nothing you could do about it but try to figure out. And so where I'm going is could this be an information gathering operation? You know what I mean? Could he just be getting intel? Because people say, I don't know how it goes in a head coaching interview because I've never been in one. But I can imagine, just by way of some of the things people I know tell me, how things might go, but there is an information gathering aspect to what they do as well.
Of course, right? Like in these situations, it's all espionage, no matter how you slice it. Hey, Ben Johnson, what are you up to? Like that little trip play you did there with Jared Goff. How did you come up with that? What was up with that? Right? Like they're gonna ask those types of questions. Hey, Aaron Glenn, like what have you done that was sneaky, and what defenses do you lean towards, and schemes and right? Yeah. This way next time around. Oh yeah. Hey, by the way, Aaron Glenn told us that you know what I mean? Aaron Glenn told us that he prefers to do this in this situation. So just keep your mind on that when you're playing against Aaron Glenn. Absolutely. There has to be a level of espionage here. And if there isn't, shame on you, Ryan Poles, right? But there has to be. End of the day, though, I'm like I say, I'm leaning a little bit more towards offensive this time around. And to that degree, I'm not as focused on an Aaron Glenn this time around. So that's just me. We'll see what Ryan Post thinks.
Your virtue is offense, huh?
Right now, yeah, I want to watch my football team score points. I'm really like at this point, like Trip, you were saying earlier about Mike Tomlin and how he's been there 8 times and hasn't been able to really do anything. You know what he has been able to do? He's been able to just actually like field watchable football. Like watchable football games where things happen, whether they're positive or negative, is at least watchable. Good Lord. Some of these Bears games, at least in the past 3 years since Ryan Poles has been the GM, it's been a little bit tough. There's been some times where I just wanted to slam my head into a wall, but maybe I might be doing a watch party and I can't do that. And it also might hurt. So, for what it's worth, somebody's got to figure out how to score points around here sooner or later.
I got to bring this back up because I think we did the entire Extra Sauce show, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we got a chance to talk about Pete Carroll, did we?
No, we did.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah. Well, because I think we came to the conclusion that he's old.
That sounds about right.
And we did mention Mike McCarthy. I think it's about 50-50 chance he stays in. I think more than a 50-50 chance he stays in Dallas.
Yeah, last I heard they were talking extension.
They
were negotiating that out.
All right. And so let's talk about hold on. Let's talk about this new booty. The new booty in the conversation. And I want to see what people are thinking about this, man, because hold on. I got to get to him. Here we go. So in the last 48 hours, I heard about him probably about a week ago, but Marcus Freeman just entered the fray. And word is that Ryan Poles is interested in interviewing him. And some of the, I think Adam Hogue has some reporting out there about this, that he really likes Marcus Freeman, and it's some additives to that conversation. But you know what? When it comes to a type, guys, you know what? He would be Ryan Poles' type. Like, my personal opinion about Marcus Freeman is, no, I don't think he's the best coach in that market. To be honest with you, he just got through playing James Franklin, who I think is a much better coach for Chicago. I think Marcus Freeman, I don't get the good vibes about him as a head coach here in Chicago. But I want to see what you guys think about him before I finish my commentary.
Go ahead, Trip. I don't have much on Marcus Freeman. He's too
he's young. A detractor of him getting hired as he just signed an extension at Notre Dame, so it'd be like millions to get him out of there. He seems to have the respect of his players. He speaks the language of the new generation. He's a former player, a former Bear who didn't make it. A linebacker, so he's a defensive guy, but he seems to be in touch enough with the game that he will bring in a offensive-minded offensive coordinator, obviously. He's having success there at Notre Dame, which many coaches, prior to him did not. And if he's able to get them over the hump, I don't think they would want him to leave. But from his perspective, do you want to stay at Notre Dame in college and, run that ship for a little bit? Or if you have the opportunity to jump to the pros as a head coach, do you take that?
Yeah. Go ahead, kids.
Like I said, I really don't have much. I think Tripp kind of hit the nails on the head for me. I will say in this picture, he does kind of look like a young Mario Van Peebles, but it is what it is. That's all I got.
Is that a curl on his forehead? What is it?
That's what I'm talking about. It's literally that curl. It really gave me that Mario Van Peebles vibe. But
man, I know one thing: he don't skip no days in the gym on upper body.
Watch yourself.
What?
And he wears a size small too. So
right, wearing his little shirt, wears his little sister shirts.
Yeah.
I just, you know what? I'm like Ricky Leahy, for real, Ricky. That is exactly the vibe I get. And I don't want to cast aspersions on people and make it appear as though, okay, you can be a pretty boy, you can wear tight shirts, you can be light-skinned with curly hair. All that shit don't make no difference to me.
But it makes you Mario Van Peebles.
You look like Mario Van Peebles. I don't give a fuck. But my thing is, that's fucking funny.
I'm sorry.
Hey, my thing is, I see soft. I see soft.
Oh,
and that's what I see. And that's the vibe I'm getting. I'm not saying that his teams are soft. I'm not saying that, but I don't. Just my inner gangster just don't feel this cat, man. And I need my inner gangster to feel him. We need gangster around here as a coach, man. And he ain't it, man. I'm sorry, but go ahead. Anybody else with comments about him?
Well, that's the thing, though, with this head coaching search. It's like, oh, do we go with the experienced old head? Do we go with the young whippersnapper that's up and coming? I don't know. I don't care as long as they fucking win. And that should be somehow the main point of all these interviews. It's like, oh, these are your plans. Well, what do you want to do with these plans? Oh, I want to build this. I want to build that. I want to win Super Bowls. That's all I want to hear out of your mouth. I'm going to do everything necessary to win Super Bowls.
Man, all the tight ass shirts, man. I ain't with all that shit, man. I ain't, it's just something about that shit, man. Like I ain't gonna, if I carry on any further with this conversation about the tight shirts, it's gonna go to a place.
Bro, it's so bro, the Ricky Leahy out there, or shout out to Ricky Leahy though. So like for all y'all Trailer Park Boys fans, Julian, who's the character that Ricky Leahy's got in this picture, always 24/7 rocks a tight black shirt. So Ricky's like, I look better in tight shirts and I still look good while drinking rum and coke. And Julian always got a rum and coke. I'm sorry, it's just funny stuff, man. Hey, shout out to Marcus Freeman. Big up to Marcus Freeman. If you get an interview, I'm intrigued, but like I'm saying, I'm still leaning to the other side of the football.
So, fellas, think about this. Now, this is just an exercise. Like when you see, I know you guys have done it, and if you haven't, I challenge why you haven't. Like, if you just blank your mind for a second and try to picture him on the Bears sidelines, trying to coach NFL players like that.
I see what you're saying. I can totally feel what you're saying. And like college players, yeah, for sure. But a room full of men, I don't know.
Man, can you picture him as a coach, Trips, honestly, in your
Yeah, I mean, so he's got that what is it? What'd you say he was, Kedz? He's got some blazing in him.
That's what somebody was saying in the chat. Yeah, and as soon as I looked at him, my nephew's blazing. He's part.
I think his mom is like either Vietnamese or something.
Okay, so my nephew is part Cambodian and part Ugandan, right? That's the mix. And to be frank with you, like my nephew's, because he's part Ugandan, super dark, but they resemble each other. Now that I'm kind of looking at him here, I'm like, wow, yeah, he actually does look like my nephew. Anyways.
Yeah, I crocodile VC. So he's got that interracial thing going on. So that gives me, the chinky eyes and the hair. You know what I mean? And then the black part gives him the, the upper body strength and the muscular and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because, all they eating over there is rice. They ain't building no muscle with rice.
What are you talking about? You ever see Bruce Lee flex, bro? He got them wings.
Hey, so okay. One other question while we're talking about this is, a lot of people out here complaining that we got too many candidates, and if there's somebody be complaining about something, if we didn't have enough candidates, people would be crying about that. And so you probably would imagine that they're not going to hire a coach anytime this week because we haven't started second interviews. Number one, that should be a tell. Number two, this guy is still playing football. 3, Ben Johnson is still playing football. Who's some of the other guys out there? Aaron Glenn still playing football. And so in order to complete the process, this is going to take a couple more weeks at least, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, until maybe after the Super Bowl.
King Book of World.
Because I think isn't it against the rules to say, hypothetically, let's say Ben Johnson wants to, take the Bears job. They can't say, oh, yeah, we have a tentative agreement or we're working out a contract, even though he's not hired yet. I think they have to actually be available to be hired before all of that paperwork and agent work can take place. If not, isn't that tampering?
I don't know. All I know is you can't complete the process if you can't get them in your building. If they're still playing, they ain't coming to the building for no, around the world tour of Chicago and seeing all the pretty places and things to do. And, you can't complete the process because your major guys are still playing football, I think, right?
Right.
So here's the thing. Like, I'm glad you brought it up, man. I am. And Bears fans, like, the last time we did this thing, they whirlwinded through and chose a guy nobody ever even really considered. Like, let's be facts. Here's a GM. New guy's hired in 48 hours. Who is this guy? And we went the last, 4 years for the most part, still kind of scratching our heads wondering, how did this guy get this job? So I don't take as long as you want. Just get the right guy. If you got it, you know what I mean? Especially in a situation where the vast majority of these interviews right now are over Zoom. Do your Zoom interviews. I would expect there to be a second interview situation, just like Nomad saying. And those are really the ones that we should be paying the most attention to. Once we hear somebody, he's coming back or he's coming into the office now, that's really where things start to get real. But, if you look at New England, they fired their guy to get that guy. Like, that was what was going to happen. They were doing it in a week. Makes perfect sense. For the Bears, they should do their due diligence here.
Take your time. And Minister, I know Bolo. Bolo was a big stocky dude, but he was like the only one. he was the only one. And Bruce Lee was cut up, but he wasn't like big or ripped. Like, he was ripped, but he wasn't big or huge.
Bolo Young's ripped now. You got to be like 85.
Yeah, he's old.
He's ripped to this day, bro.
But other than that, the culture is like, I mean, come on, they're little dudes. Little people. They're just genetically smaller, physically DNA people.
To let the Yao Ming.
I don't make the rules. I'm just saying.
All right.
Because I mean,
don't say Bolo Young either. Bolo Young will beat both of us up at the same time at 85.
I mean, because who else are you looking at? Sumo wrestlers? And it's like, hell, even Kedz could outrun them.
I'm not fast, though.
They
might still win.
They got them little bitty ass sumo legs. You know what I mean? They not stretching out. Your hammies is looser than theirs, and your hammies ain't even loose.
Who are you talking
Tell
about?
that from looking at you.
Who the hell is Bolo Young?
Who's Bolo Young?
What?
Nomad. Oh, man.
You know him when you see him.
I don't know.
You ever
You
watch
don't know who Bolo Young is, though, man?
Nah, man.
He was the muscle
no,
dude in the Bruce Lee
go
movie.
searching the internet for you now. Good
He was in so
Lord.
many.
I knew you would, kids. All I had to do is say I didn't know him.
It was
You don't know nothing about Sean Lee.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Lee. You don't know about Bolo Young?
Bloodsport.
Sean Lee.
I ain't no big karate movie here.
Oh, no,
I
no,
never was
man. You're insulting me.
I never was into him.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's?
Nah, like Steven Seagal, all that weak ass shit, man.
Well, that's different.
Steven Seagal. You just compared Bolo Young.
Yeah, that's totally different.
To Steven Seagal, man. Good Lord, Nomad.
Martial arts, kind of, but not even close.
They getting on me too. That's like I'm supposed to know him, but
that man, everybody know Bolo Young.
His name is Bolo
Young. Killed the dude in Bloodsport, bro.
His last name is. Oh, hold on, man. Why in the fuck is his last name Young? Okay, that's how it's spelled.
Young, Y-E-U-N-G.
I was about to say that's just like telling me it's a white man named Alonzo, man. I ain't trying to hear that bullshit.
His name's not Jeff Young.
and Young, the way it's spelled, that's the way they spell it.
It's Young, but this Bolo Young is the bad MF in like I would say like 50% of the wicked kung fu movies in existence.
Yeah, he's always the bad guy.
I've always seen him in stuff, but never knew what his name was.
Yo, man, I had to find out when I was a kid because it was like, yo, Enter the Dragon. Yo, who's the dude with just chest beating everybody up? Bolo Young come walking in just like this.
Right. Hey, man, flexing.
Slap up your shit. And that's the end of his little cameo.
So I have, hey, kid, since you know all that, you probably seen the latest version of Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Is he in that?
No, but he is in, I believe he's in IP Man. He's in I think it's Kung Fu Shuffle. Like, my guy's in so many more recent stuff. He's 78 years old. Still kicking ass, taking names. Like, this dude is
he's a bodybuilder that did martial arts. It wasn't like he's just a martial artist. He was actually a bodybuilder.
That's why I don't know his ass. You got to get
legend. This guy, trust me, that's my dude, man.
Don't play no videos, man.
No worries. I dropped it off, but yo, Bolo Young's a legend, man. You should know. If you don't know,
Young, I never knew that. I seen that guy's face in so many old ass movies, and I was like, who is that dude? He's like the jacked up ass Asian guy. That's all I knew.
Right. That's why he did so many movies.
But you jack up everybody in your movie, man. Enter, what's his name? Jean-Claude Van Damme. Hey, you want a movie? Don't worry about you. Let's bring Bolo Young in, and he'll your cosign.
Whoa, Washington just took the lead against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay coughed it up inside their own 15 and just gave them a gimme, man. I think Washington's going to beat these cats.
Don't say that.
Why?
I don't really want to hear that, man.
Dude, you got to live with it. We got to live with it, man. Me and Trips was having a powwow before we went live, man. Some things we're going to have to learn to live with, big boy. That's just all it is to it. Can't be butthurt about it. We just got to live with it. You know? Got to live with it.
I don't have to like it.
Yeah, you got to like it now, but you got to live with it. Now, you know, I mean, did y'all see any games earlier? I was not able to. I got to see like the first couple of drives of the Buffalo-Denver game, and I got to see one drive of the Green Bay-Philly game because my girlfriend's off and we on this, you know, Chicago PD marathon thing going on. But I didn't get to see no games today, man, because I got to sacrifice for the relationship, bro.
Oh, listen to you.
Yeah, that's what it is, man.
It's like, hey, girl, you know it's Sunday, right? You know, football's on and shit. It's Chicago PD. Sergeant, what's his name? Hard ass, gravelly voice.
Hey, Trips, I got lucky, man. She's on a 2-day weekend. This is her 2-day weekend. And yesterday she let me get pretty much the whole Baltimore and Pittsburgh game in, so I ain't mad. I got
as long as she let you rub her feet, you know, while y'all watch. Name Sergeant. What's the sergeant's name off Chicago?
The sergeant, you talking about Trudy?
No, not the desk sergeant. The sergeant upstairs, dude that talks like this.
Oh, you talking about Voight?
Voight, Sergeant Voight.
Oh,
there
Voight.
you go.
Oh man, dude, this guy right here, man.
Don't encourage it. What's wrong with you, man?
Me and my girlfriend.
You know
me
he
and my
just got
girlfriend-
finished rubbing her feet too. Is really what happened. Though.
Hey, you know what, Trish? Me and my girlfriend had more conversations about feet in the last 72 hours than we have the whole fucking time we've been together.
Yep,
It's 'cause of
you
your
just got
ass.
finished
You're
rubbing her
welcome.
feet.
You're
She
welcome.
She came in here. I'm telling you, if I wish I could have panned over and let y'all see. She came in as we was ending the show, and we had this graphic up, and she can hear your ass going on and on. She was standing at that motherfucking door dying. I mean, she was straight dying.
She probably had the lotion out, rubbing it ready to go. She's like, you know what? You just grease my wheels, Trip.
Right? Start wiggling them around like, ooh.
Oh man, I'm telling you,
Wow.
that whole thing with feet had me like I'm watching her feet more now. I'm like, what? I'm like, well, I'm getting weird, man. I'm like, I'm living with you for a long time and ain't paid no attention to your damn feet. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at your damn feet. And she is just like, they just normal feet. I was like, I know, man, but what's the big thing? I don't get it, man.
Well, there's no such thing as normal feet. They're all unique in their own certain way.
Oh, dog. I guess you're gonna elaborate on that a little bit, ain't you?
Well, I mean, like are they wrinkly on the bottom or smooth or partially wrinkly? You know, does she need a full like bottle of nail polish for all her toenails, or just like a little drip on each little nail? Because that's all it is. You know, does the pinky toe, does it stick up and is it pronated all out, or is it like tucked in, like hiding from the world under its big brothers? Because speaking of Asians, it's like they wear like a lot of sandals or barefoot, so their toes spread out wider. You know what I mean?
Go, King Booker. King Booker knows what's up.
All feet are ugly. Oh, King.
I can't agree with that one now. I don't think
You see what happened? You see what happened, Triple R?
I've seen some females. I've seen some females that really take care of their joints, man.
Listen to this guy. Look what
their
happened.
hands and feet are nice. I've seen some
Mhm.
nice. You know what I mean? Now, but to be people be all putting on.
You don't turn this man out on live on YouTube. YouTube, brother.
No.
And now he's like,
No. You gotta acknowledge, man. Some of the girls' feet look decent.
My boy got freaky dicky.
No, I ain't anybody. When you cross the threshold, when you picking them bitches up and putting them in your mouth. Excuse my language. When you
but that's the thing. You're not picking them up. Sometimes they're just there. Like if for some reason you're like over the top and the feet are like just resting on your chest for some reason. Like you just put them right in and you need a little nibble.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Just a little nibble. Just hey, how you doing, little piggies? So yummy. And just taking your time and doing the
man. Unless I get her right out the tub, it ain't gonna happen. And carry her get her right out the tub and carry her to the room or the couch where she ain't walked on nothing.
Say they know they clean.
Not nothing, and that ain't never gonna happen. And I ain't carrying her ass from no damn bed. I mean, from no tub. Period.
That'll be like
y'all wait till the next episode because he's gonna be telling a story about how he carried her from the bathtub. Like I'm just like fast forward to next week's episode where Nomad carried his woman from the bathtub to the bedroom. And we'll see what happens. Triple R, you turned out the homie, bro. You turned him out.
That Quentin Tarantino movie with Bruce Willis, where he was like, "Yeah, baby, do me," and she did, but she wouldn't stop brushing her teeth. That'd be Nomad. He won't stop brushing his teeth because he had those toes up in his mouth.
We talking Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction. Remember when he was in a motel and he was like, let me do you and you do me, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll do you, but I won't stop brushing my teeth because that's nasty." And it's like, I'll suck on those toes, maybe nibble them a little bit, but I'm not gonna stop brushing my teeth and flossing because that's nasty.
Yeah, you know what, man? I heard this story, man, when I was working with my first group of kids, and the first time I started doing mentoring and counseling, I heard about this story, and my girlfriend would not believe it. And it was a story. It was a dude in Joliet that was literally going in people's cribs. And if you don't know what Joliet, kids, it's just like right close to Chicago, right? And so there's a dude in Joliet that was breaking in women's houses and sneaking in there while they were asleep. He had been stalking them for a long time and was breaking in their houses and going in their bedrooms when they were by themselves, taking the cover back and sucking their toes while they were asleep. And got caught doing it. And my girlfriend would not believe it. At the time, she just wouldn't believe it. So I found it. I had it printed out and gave it to her. She was a Latino chick. You should have seen her whole face got just red as she just to think about that for a minute. That's like somebody is that bad off and going with it that he's breaking into people's home. You know what kind of charges you about to get for that? It was like seven or eight girls that he had done it to.
I'm just saying crime is rampant. Like,
like that's wild, man.
Crime is crazy. Like,
Leroy said he heard about this story.
I'm just saying, there's no. What do you gain from that? You can't sell it. You can't buy it. You couldn't like if you had $20. I'm just saying, if you had $20 to your name, I guarantee you can find a chick who'll let you suck her toes. I guarantee.
You know what they're gonna do to your weird ass in jail?
Well, yeah, but that's not as fun as like if you have permission.
Probably something toe related. I'm just saying.
You know, they might do some weird shit to your ass in jail, man.
It might be toe related, but yeah, it's gonna be weird for sure. It's gonna be some
I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't want that on me while I'm in jail, man. All them dudes up in there stanking. They be like, hey, bro, come here. Hey, come here, man. You want me to keep this cat off you now? I'm gonna tell you what you about to do tonight. Now, I'm gonna take these socks off. Oh my God, just thinking about that, man.
Well, but that's kind of like along those lines. I think Nomad wants like a head coach that you gotta like worry about him being able to just take your stuff, as opposed to having some soft head coach that's like, dude, I would take your stuff.
Yeah, I need somebody that's G about his.
Yeah,
I need somebody that's G about his because I ain't gonna really respect it, man. If you soft. Can't be soft around me, man, when it comes to no football. Can't be. You can't be. And I know I ain't the only one that thinks that way. If you're a real football player, as a man's man, wants to be, coached and curated by another man. You know what I mean? Not to say that Marcus Freeman isn't a man or some of these other guys, but you need to be a man's man to command respect in that room. They don't respect you, they're going to walk right over you. They'll walk right over you, bro. Right. Ain't no on time to meetings, man. Shut up talking to me, man. I get it when I get here. I get to practice when I get to practice. Find me, whatever. That's the kind of shit that really goes on.
Oh,
so you better bring the right person in here.
Pedigree, cachet, right? That's why I'm leaning to both of those things. You got to come in the door and be respected, and and then you can push down discipline. It's not an easy thing. And again, it takes me back to the hiring of a guy like Flus. Where was the cachet or the respect for Flus coming in the door? Right? Eventually that was going to wane after a series of losing. But if you'd chosen a guy who had again been to the dance and had done something in the NFL, maybe of some kind, he might have gotten a little bit more run.
Well, remember, Flus was portrayed as an awesome teacher for a young developing roster. He ain't developed a motherfucker.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We was lied to from the beginning about him, or he was such a fraud that he had everybody fooled. That I said, oh no, this Eberflus guy, he seems like a good teacher or respected, blah blah blah. None of that was true.
Trips, how you gonna coach me to be hard and you soft, right?
Right. It's like Flus goofy ass. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, like I say, there's those two things, and maybe you are hard, but prove it. Is there proof in this pudding? You know what I mean? There's no proof in the Flus pudding at all. There was none. How he got the job, it blows my mind, but he got it. And once things go sideways for an extended period of time, at some point, you're in that locker room, you're playing for this guy. You got to ask yourself the question, like, why am I following this dude?
So let me ask you. Let's do this little exercise. I'm gonna roll off a few names, and give me one word. Well, when I say a name, just say he'll hit you in your shit. And the other one, if you don't think he will, just say nope. And so I'm gonna roll off some names. Ron Rivera, what kind of coach is he? Will he hit you in your? I'm gonna say he'll hit you in your shit.
Well, maybe like 10 years ago.
Maybe 10 years ago. I agree.
He'll hit you in your shit though. He's got that in him, right?
Well, he used to, but
Okay.
I'm saying he's old now.
Okay, Rex Ryan, hit you in your shit. Yep.
See Triple R's answer for Ron Rivera.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm getting
Let's
answers.
insert sucking toes.
I don't know if Bear Truth 9 is talking about Ron Rivera or Rex Ryan, but both of them I think it hit you in your shit. Both.
I don't know, man. Sorry, continue.
So, but what was it? You think Rex Ryan will hit you in your shit, right?
He might also suck your toes. Yes.
Okay, but just say hit you in
Well,
your
he
shit.
definitely suck your toes.
Just say hit you in your shit. Y'all crazy as fuck.
But I saw him. He was being all thirsty on some sports show today, talking about he wants that Jets job real bad.
Yeah.
Of course he does. He's a former Jets coach, and I to be frank with you, I think they'd be stupid not to give it to him. They don't know what they're doing over there.
All
Just
right.
give him the job.
Let me roll another name out.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the other names in the cycle. What's his name? Joe Brady. You think he'll hit you in your shit? I
Don't think so at all.
I think he's more cerebral.
I think he's a football nerd. Yeah.
Let me know in the chat, y'all. Thumbs up, thumbs down, yes or no. But I don't think Joe Brady's the type that hit you in your shit. I think he's the type of person to get hit in this shit and try to he'll apologize to you after getting hit in this shit. Like, hey man, you don't owe me no apology. I just punched you in your shit. Don't apologize to me, man. I'm supposed to be apologizing to you? No, I don't see Joe Brady as that type.
Oh, there it is, right there, Mr. Mayhem.
What do you say?
What's that?
Joe Brady's the same age in his polls. I heard that some freaking where. Damn, Trace Armstrong, man.
I've been searching for weeks to see what Trace Armstrong's client list looks like, because like in the client list lies the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. Why do I say this? Because the last head coach was from Trace Armstrong. So was the GM. But guess what? So was the previous head coach. It's interesting stuff, right?
Well, I think the McCaskies are fans of Trace Armstrong.
They
He
are.
was drafted here. He played here, and now he's an agent, and like all of his clients are hired here. I mean, is that coincidence?
They better
Yeah,
avoid him. Like
It's not only coincidence.
they better avoid him, man, or it's gonna be some blowback. People don't figure that shit out.
I
And I hired nobody from his client list.
I agree with that. I'm also gonna say something like, which is it's just funny to me, because like if you guys remember, Trace Armstrong was one of the guys who held out coming in upon being drafted. He straight up gave the McCaskies one of these on the way into the NFL. And for some reason, like they don't want to have a conversation with Olin Kreutz about anything, but come on in. Come on in, Trace. He left the team as fast as he could, too. He really didn't do nothing in Chicago. He was a big draft pick for us. He stiffed us.
You know why? Because Olin the type of motherfucker that hit you in your shit.
That's why I'm trying to.
That's what I'm trying to get at. You just fuck with me for a minute. Okay. So one of the other guys, Aaron Glenn, you think he's the type that hit you in your shit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me take your image down, man. Get us on the screen here. Aaron Glenn definitely is a guy that hits you in your shit. What about his offensive coordinator over there? Does that guy come across, and I'm talking about Ben Johnson, does he come across as a guy that hits you in your shit?
Football nerd.
You know what, though? I have a feeling he might. It took me a while to get there. For the longest time, I kind of just thought that he was, again, just a straight up football nerd. But I've been watching him on the sidelines. I had to take a minute to look at Ben Johnson a little bit deeper.
Taking you
He's
too
a
long
little
to
bit
say
of
he
a.
hit you in your shit or not? Just tell me.
I think so. Yeah. Yes.
No, that man ain't gonna hit nobody in their shit.
I think he might.
Come on, man. Probably some.
Like, here's part of the reason why. He just spent the last few years mentoring with a guy who clearly will hit you in your shit. I have a strange feeling a little bit of that rubbed off on him.
Yeah, man, he ain't hitting nobody but some other frat boys.
Maybe.
He ain't gonna hit nobody else but his own brothers and his frat. He ain't gonna hit nobody on the street, straight up. Brian Flores, will he hit you in your shit? I'm saying, yeah.
Yep.
Flores, yeah.
Okay.
Sue you after too.
Funny. After he hit you, he gonna sue you.
He'll do both. I'm telling you, do both. He hit you first, and then sue you for making him hit you.
Okay. All right. So what about let me think of somebody else. What about Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. He might have some evil in him.
I've seen him evil. It's just a little bit. It's still a little soft. You know what I'm saying? It's still a little bit soft. So I'm gonna go with no. As much as I want Mike to be the coach, I'm actually quite interested. He checks a lot of boxes for me. But
I think
I don't think he's gonna bust anybody in their shit.
I think I slap him up and he ain't gonna do too much about it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So what do you think about Arthur Smith?
No.
I think Arthur Smith will hit you in your shit.
I was gonna say I think so too. Yeah.
Well, he should do that to Pickens.
I believe somebody in there has probably already done that.
What is the Pittsburgh thing in their receiver core? I mean, you can look at Antonio Brown, Deontay. You look at Pickens and Chase Claypool.
Claypool, thank you. There's a list, bro.
I'm gonna give you my answer to that. I'm gonna give you my honest answer to that. I think Mike Tomlin and that brass over there has no problem drafting an emotionally immature player and feeling
but it's obviously not working out.
Yeah, I think Pickens got to be that last one on that. If you're gonna be gambling on emotionally immature guys, I think they may not accept any more of those types of guys in there because I don't think he's gonna last there. I don't think he's gonna be there much longer, as a matter of fact. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look good, and everybody's, we should have got Pickens. He was this bad with Tomlin. Tomlin is well regarded as the most respected coach in football, in the National Football League. If he's this bad with Pittsburgh, what would he have done under Flus?
Yeah.
Okay, think about that, y'all. Think about that.
Okay,
Tomlin is extraordinary, kids, but what would have happened without Tomlin's guidance? I'm
not worried about that. Then the reason I'm saying that is like a wide receiver. A lot of the time could be a bit of a diva, right? Like a lot of them are. So that's up to you and the organization to be able to develop and manage them. What I can say is that in Pittsburgh, somehow, he does a pretty solid job of managing these wide receiver divas. Like he's done a great job. And again, the list of them is astronomically long. How this team could manage a wide receiver diva, not with these coaches, right? Like not, and that goes right back to Matt Nagy and Anthony Miller, right? Like there's, I traditionally we haven't done real good with fiery wide receivers, but I am going to say straight up and down, I think this team kind of needs one. We did say that, me and you've been saying it about Tariq as far as the cornerback position is concerned. A lot of these teams, especially with successful wide receivers, a lot of these guys are divas. A lot of them are jerks. At this point, we should be able to develop.
Are you trying to make the case that you still think that Chicago should have drafted George Pickens
over Velus Jones?
Man, no. Yeah. Don't say over anybody. You think that they should have made that pick after?
I have to say the over Velus Jones. That was the alternative.
Come on, that's just nuts.
That's
nuts. He would have been a mess here.
I can't. Like I say, I can't argue with the stance because. I don't think this team, I don't think Matt Eberflus has the cachet to do it. I don't think the guys on the offensive side had the cachet to do it. I also don't think that Matt Nagy and his squad had the cachet to do it a few years before. So would I have rather that they picked Pickens at the time? Yeah. Would they have been successful in developing Pickens or anywhere near as successful as Tomlin is? I don't think so. Look, again,
I think
look at what happened with Chase Claypool.
I think he'd be out the league by now if he was.
You're probably right.
He'd be out the league by now. And I'm glad that he didn't come here because of that reason. I was glad that he went to Pittsburgh, because if there was any chance that there's a coach in the league that could harness his greatness, and he does have absolute greatness inside him, that dude is special. And he's got that. He's got that. But the emotional immaturity is way, way frightening. But the next guy, since we're talking about it, is Mike Tomlin, the type of guy that will bust you in your shit.
Well, that goes without saying. Who's next?
Yeah.
What about Thomas Brown? Will he bust you in your shit? Thomas Brown will bust you dead in your shit.
I think he would, but I don't think
you see Kedz.
I don't think he was in a position this season to do that with this team. Because, you know, coming in on the ass end of a season after they done dumped their coach, emotionally, they were just kind of like, yeah, it's over now. You know, let's look forward to next year. Whereas Thomas Brown is like, hey, got a game next week, you know, fellas. You know, we going to play that game? No? Okay. But he was able to somehow, the last game of the season against the Packers, get the victory. How that happened, I don't know. But it did. So it looked like by the end of the season, he started to actually resonate with the team, and they were a little more active and trying to actually win the game as opposed to just showing up. So I think he would, you know, be a disciplinarian, but I don't think that he had the opportunity to put that in place this season with this team.
Can't say much more than that, man. That's like he was served a shit sandwich and asked to make something else with it, and it's still shit, right? So, my major issue really with him just moving like as a potential candidate is just, again, it goes to pedigree and you know, have you been to the dance? Have you done it? Can you prove it? And those questions still exist. I like Thomas Brown. I think he'll be a great head coach when given the opportunity. I just think he was sort of given a raw deal here, man. And will he bust you in your shit? Probably, but after doing it, are you going to respect him more? I don't know.
Yeah. Bottom line is Thomas Brown is definitely, like every one of these people, I can read a person very well. I had to learn to be that way. I keep telling people that by way of my profession. I had to learn to read people really, really well. And I can see right away, Thomas Brown will bust you dead in your shit. Straight up. And you need the kind of coach that, hey, you're not going to run me over. You're not going to buffalo me. You know what I mean? You need that kind of coach in your building. And, you know, like I said, again, for all these people talking about, you know, leader of men is overrated, man, kiss my ass. Dude, you don't know nothing about no locker room, bro. Nothing. Anybody that's got to let that come out of their mouth don't know shit about no locker room and ain't steeped in no football coach. You're just talking about it. That's all you doing. But, you know, that being said, let me think about the next guy who's on that list. Let me look. Let me take a quick look. Anthony Weaver, in case you guys are unfamiliar with him, that's Anthony Weaver. Does he come across as a guy that will bust you in your shit or no?
Yeah, he does.
He'll definitely bust you in your shit, won't he?
Sure, yeah.
Go ahead, Trips. I interrupted, man.
Oh, no, I said, yeah, that was just, yeah. He looks like that kind of guy, that kind of coach.
Mick Foley, I'm telling you, leader of men is a buzzword. But at the same time, it has staying power. It wouldn't be getting spoken to by so many football players saying that word. You need a leader of men. You keep hearing that for a reason. Because if you don't have a leader of men, it's like this marriage. It's like you're in a relationship with a woman or whoever you're in a relationship with. Everything has a honeymoon to it. And so everybody's happy, having a good time, everybody's joking. We great. But when it comes to the rubber hits the road and you got to do real stuff and real stuff starts to happen, do you have leadership in that building that can move men around? And if you don't, you're going to find out right away as soon as that happy wears off of that relationship. Am I off, guys, when I say that? It's like any relationship, bro. After it wears off, somebody's got to take the lead.
So
Yeah.
No, like what you're saying makes sense. And like I say, there's two ways of looking at this, and some folks just look at it as straight up disciplinarian alone. I don't. I look at it as more respect, right? Respect. Do you command respect? And have you earned respect? And in this case, Weaver looks more like a guy who can, command respect. I'm not so sure if he's earned it.
Why you say that?
Let's get some background on Weaver. Has he won anything of note?
I mean, he's not a head coach. He's a defensive coordinator.
This is sort of where I'm going, though. Right?
So, I mean, like, see, that's kind of difficult with me, kids, because if you question whether or not somebody's earned it, it's a whole bunch of people running around talking about whether or not this coordinator or that coordinator should be the head coach of the team. Technically, they haven't earned anything.
I agree. And that's why I'm saying there's two ways of looking at the leader of men thing. It's either you are a disciplinarian or it's by way of respect. There's two angles to that quote unquote leader of men. And again, if you are respected, people will fall behind and with the reason being that they want to get to where you've been. They'll follow you there, right? If you have never been there, it's hard to get men to follow you. About that simple.
Well, I think Anthony Weaver's a damn good coach, and I think he's got head coaching credentials written all over him. If you just take the time, anybody wants to take the time and check him out, you'll see what I'm talking about pretty quickly. He's got his head on right, great leadership capabilities. You listen to him in the presser, you listen to him out there with his players on the field. You have a good sense of what a guy is capable of. And I think he's got some great traits about him. And I think he's going to translate to a really good coach one of these days. And we'll talk about that at some point. But I think Anthony Weaver's got the chops, man. But is he one of those guys that'll bust you in your shit? Yeah, man. The guy's an ex-defensive end, I believe, or a linebacker. He'll F you up. Straight up. No question about that. Let me think. Am I missing a guy that might bust you in your shit? Let me take a look at the Pete Carroll.
What about Pete Carroll, Caldwell?
That's funny.
Pete, why? You don't think Pete Carroll will bust you in your shit?
I think Pete Carroll, he tried to swing on somebody, he's gonna break every bone in his hand.
I agree with it, everything you're saying, but I also agree with the fact that he probably will still attempt it. Like he probably would. He's right. This is I love just that one little situation where DK came in without his shirt and he's like, oh really? And like just hey, check me out. I'm 70. Cut up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Pete. Pete will get in your shit. He will.
Well, that's one of those where
he
he's a disciplinarian and he's respected.
He is. In both cases, right? Yeah. Men will fall in line. I agree.
You can see an air about some people where you just know, like all right, man, you might have gone too far with somebody. Let me back off a little bit. Pete Carroll probably in his day will probably fire you in your shit, man. Straight up. You get a little too fly in the mouth with him. Pop! Right in your shit. I think Washington's about to win this game with a walk.
I was just about to say, McFack, you must be 52 seconds behind because I got 003, and they're about to put this game on ice.
Well, even if Pete Carroll did hit you in your shit, it really shouldn't hurt. He got that arthritis in there. So,
probably ain't drinking enough milk.
That's a
not even a worry. Not even a worry. He might fracture a knuckle or something. And it is Oh, doink. But went in off the doink. Ain't that some
you-
shit?
Wow.
Damn, Church, you like 3 seconds ahead of me. And he did
Wow.
doink it, and it went in.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield Vex.
Washington, the new cardiac kids, man. They call them the new cardiac kids. Damn, they just put that
They
play
seem
out.
to they pull it out at the end of games, don't they?
Man, dude, they get somebody a heart attack getting there though.
I pull it out when I'm done too.
Man,
Look, like, don't this make like this should make Ryan Post so mad.
oh, it should be. Go ahead, let's go ahead and do it, man. You done already crossed the threshold.
I'm just saying it should make
do
him
it now,
mad. Like,
man.
this is
Do it
just-
now.
this
You
team-
done fucking started it. Now do it.
This team is just made up of guys he was like, nah. The whole team.
Nah, man, nah. You say what you gonna say, man. Don't.
That's
have
really
the
all
ball
I'm
to say.
saying. He slept on all these guys. These guys are laughing their way to the second round of the playoffs.
And say
You
what you want to
drunk
say
their way.
before I say it for you, man. You want me to say it for you?
Okay. What do I want to say?
So Kedz is one. What Kedz deeply really wants to say, folks, is we got the wrong fucking quarterback.
No, that's what he want to say, but he want to put it on me.
Go ahead and say it. We got the wrong fucking quarterback.
They don't put that on me.
Don't be.
You don't in triple R. You know what I'm saying? Hey, triple R. Look,
Don't be-
I wasn't even talking about the quarterback. I was talking about the OC or maybe the head coach, right? Like, those are two guys he had immediate access to, but I guess you're right too. He did also have immediate access to the other guy that he completely didn't do any due diligence on and didn't meet with him. But I don't really, I'm not quite as fussed about that because he was hell bent on getting a quarterback. So I get it, whoever he decided. But there really ain't I don't understand. Like, I can understand the excuses around the quarterback. I can't. I don't understand how you bring these two guys in the building, both of them. And you're like, oh, that's cool. We got Flus, and Luke gets it.
I don't even
Like, it's
know.
just crazy to me. It's
I don't
pretty
even
funny.
know. Like, all right. Let me phrase the question this way. Given the situation in hindsight, knowing what we know now, given the situation in hindsight, okay, he was gonna move on from Justin Fields. Good. Okay, now you got to draft the quarterback. How many times did we say there was a more pro-ready quarterback in this draft? There was two of them, in fact. It was Jaden Daniels and it was Bo Nix. Time and time again on the show.
And both of them in the playoffs. Well, Bo Nix won.
Both of them in the goddamn playoffs. In hindsight, knowing what you know now, anybody can sit here and tell me that they still would have drafted Caleb Williams is a motherfucking fool. Because you know better now. You know better now.
Well, that's kind of my question about Ben Johnson. It's like, sure, we can see the talent that Caleb Williams has, escaping the pocket and all that good shit, but it looks like Ben Johnson's offense runs with golf so well because of the timing aspects of it, because of the on-schedule passes that golf makes to the receivers in stride. Caleb doesn't have that. He doesn't have it yet. I'm not saying he can't develop it, but if you're Johnson, it's like, do I want to go to Chicago and work with this kid who needs some work, or do I want to go out to Vegas and work with Tom Brady and build a team from scratch? That could be quite appealing. And plus, Vegas will overpay. I mean, you go out to Vegas, you got an extra year to do your thing because it's a teardown year, and you're not up against the clock with now not a quarterback in his first year. His second year as opposed to his first. Do you want to go through that development if you're Johnson, or would you just like a fresh, clean, white slate to fill in from there?
People should understand that, man. If you want to say that one more time, I'm here for it. But that was a fucking good point. That I think people should think about that. Like, I'd rather a clean runway, get everything off of it, and let me get my chance to fly. You know what I mean? With who I want, right? I like that. But what Trips just said makes all kinds of damn sense. Just
like I say, I'm okay. Caleb's here now. I'm with Caleb. I don't really care. I'm looking at the other things around it. Could he have gotten Jaden Daniels? I will say the most obvious thing. I'm a little mad homie didn't do the due diligence. Like, let's be real about that, right? We know that they got goo goo gaga eyes with Caleb and just shut everybody else down, and brought him in strictly. And again, I get it, except I'm not with that. Like, learn from your mistakes, Bears. Damn it, right? Learn from your mistakes. Like, the other guy did the exact same thing with the previous guy, and he didn't work out. So I'd like you to at least do your due diligence. I'm suggesting for the head coach, you do your due diligence. I'm about to do diligence. So, if they didn't do it, it is what it is. I'm a little bit less fussed with Caleb, though. I'm definitely fussed with the fact that we just fired our head coach, and there goes the head coach. There goes the OC. Oh yeah, we fired the OC. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are two guys who literally walked in your building and asked you for jobs, and you thought what you had in house was better, which worries me by way of the guy's judgment. Who you're saying Kevin Warren overstepped? Like, these are all those myopic things that microscope is zeroing in on.
Hold on, kids, because Mick Foley, my guy, love you to death, man. He's saying Jaden wouldn't get one win with this.
He's right. And that's a brilliant part of all the.
No, he is dead ass wrong.
No, he's not.
He's dead wrong. You
no,
know
he's not. Nomad, don't do it.
You know it.
Come on now, don't do this.
He said Jaden wouldn't get one win.
He probably wouldn't. Maybe one. Maybe a single. Maybe a single 7 game.
I'm not taking nobody like that, dude. I ain't doing that.
Well, let me put it like this, kids. What can Caleb Williams do that Jaden Daniels can't?
Exactly.
Let me put it like this. What can Jaden Daniels do that Justin Fields couldn't?
Throw better with anticipation. And when it games down to the pressure getting there, Jaden Daniels will take off and run, which he's very good at, but he will look to pass to the very last instant. Unlike Fields, where it's just like one, I'm out. Okay. Whereas Caleb is like 1, 2, yeah, he's open, but I'm not going to throw that one. Check down guy's open, I'm not going to throw that one. Now he's taking a sack. So, I mean, they just have different play styles, and Daniels is more experienced, more mature, and is just right now a better quarterback. And he's in a system with coaches that cater to what he does well.
He's got a better clock in his head, and he's got better poise, and that's all the difference in the world right now. Wow. Better clock in his head. His clock is quicker in his head, number one. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that. Number two, he's got better poise in the pocket than Caleb Williams right now, and it's not scattershot and feeling like, because what he it's things that Jaden is better at this point. No question about it. So why I say that, looking back at it in hindsight, like, he was a better fit for this right now moment team that they had put together. I still 100% believe that Caleb still has a ceiling and can get there. But right now, Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback, bar none.
Yeah.
Bar none. And anybody now, Mick, and anybody else talking about Jaden wouldn't have won one game with this, I ain't capping like that, man.
No, they're not like that. They're not all that far off, because, like, why isn't Jaden Daniels, like, why isn't he scattershot?
Well, here's the thing, though. We've had enough open receivers that Williams did not get the ball to, whether he didn't throw it or was it an errant pass. Whereas Daniels will chuck it up there for the receivers to catch it in stride and keep running. If he sees an open guy, I haven't seen an all 22 where Daniels, passed up receivers.
Okay.
It's like there's some things, like Bear Truth 9 doesn't agree with me. He sees totally different QBs under different situations. That is true. That part is true. Now, but there are some, let's just say there are some earmarks I can see on film that are marked differences between the two of those. And the two that really stick out to me, I'm telling you, is the timer in Jaden Daniels' head, his awareness in that pocket. Now, Caleb has really good awareness in the pocket, but his timer doesn't go off when it needs to in order to know when to take off and get those few yards on the ground, whatever it is, or to throw a ball and give somebody a chance on time. Like Jaden Daniels is on point there. That's a big, huge difference. That would have been true whether he was in Washington or Chicago. He those are instinctual things. You got to understand that. That's not what quarterback is in this situation or that situation. The timer in your head and having the poise to know what to do in a moment, that's all instinctual, kids. Every last bit of it.
I'm glad you used the word instinctual, right? Because instincts can be learned as well, right? They can come from learning. And instincts can be curbed by that.
Instincts, kids.
Sure, you can. Yes, you can.
You
can be trained into repeating an action instinctively. You can. And if you cannot be trained into instinctual movements, then we're gonna have a real hard time with this particular quarterback we drafted, because he needs to learn new instincts. He does, right? His timing is off, and I believe his timing is off because of his offensive line. But then it gets to a point where the offensive line plays well and his timing is still off. So at that point, he's just either gun shy or shell shocked or traumatized is probably the best word to use. I don't believe Jaden Daniels has really been in a traumatizing situation like standing behind this offensive line. And that's why I brought Justin Fields into the conversation a little bit earlier on, because we kind of saw something similar to what Jaden Daniels is, minus the whole, actually throwing the football part. But behind this offensive line, bad things have been known to happen, and it's about 8 years running now. So I wouldn't want to put Jaden Daniels behind this offensive line any more than Caleb Williams, except for one reason, and it's got less to do with his timing and less to do with him at all from a an identity politics perspective. Has everything to do with, we would have got a shit ton of capital from the Washington Commanders. That's all.
I just like some stuff is so obvious to me, like so obvious to me, and I'm not trying to put no supporter of ours over here down, or no fan in particular of the Chicago Bears down for the way they think. But I just hope and wish that people can learn to be a little bit more objective when something is clear and obvious in your face. And the clear and obvious in my face, when I look at it in hindsight, it's not that I'm not going to support Caleb Williams. He's a Bear. I'm going to support him. Long as he's a Bear, I'm going to support him and root for him like a motherfucker. Trust me when I tell you that. But to be honest about what you see, I wish I would get on one of these podcasts and sit here and try to bullshit y'all. I'm going to tell you the truth, and sometimes the truth is painful. And what I just said to you all is God's honest truth. He's just a better quarterback right now than Caleb Williams.
Oh, right now that goes without saying. He's in the playoffs. He just won a playoff game. There's no. We only came out of this season with 5 wins. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's that. By way of comparison, it's really not much. Not much of a comparison here to talk about. Unfortunately, the comparison this season, if we're talking about rookie quarterbacks, is between Bo Nix and the kid JD. Right? That's a comparison.
Look at what Dennis Moody is saying. That's probably a better way of saying what we all would want to say. Dennis Moody says all these rookies will be good. Some are ahead of others. Keywords. Some are ahead of others. It goes back to my point. In hindsight, knowing what you know now, would you still have drafted Caleb Williams instead of Jaden Daniels? Knowing what you know in hindsight, hell no, I wouldn't draft Caleb Williams. Knowing what I know now, no.
Well, but then it's also hard to, say knowing what you know now, when at the time it's like, well, of course we have a coach that's going to coach him up on the offense. We did.
Who?
We had
I'm talking about coach. Who's that coach?
Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron or Matt Eberflus. You know what I mean? If you give Jaden Daniels those, idiots, he's not making the playoffs. I don't think.
Saying.
So, I mean, coaching matters.
Yes.
Like in Denver, coaching matters. It wasn't, the skill of Bo Nix that got him there. It was him being coached up.
Yeah.
His skill and instincts help. He was just like, when I'm watching these guys, and my job is to make sure if nobody else watches this film, and when we do podcasts, I gotta watch it so I can know what I'm talking about at least. And when you watch all that film and you see all these guys, you see those two guys, Nix and Daniels, under center and operating in the system that the NFL traditionally uses, which is a pro style system. It's one year after year, constantly just winning championships, and saying to yourself, well, like what does Caleb look like under that? And you can't find no remnants of it. You can't find no real examples of what he looks like under center. Then it's easy to tell whether or not somebody's going to struggle and have a bigger learning curve than the next guy, which led me to believe in the offseason that Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix would be a better fit given the situation. And it turned out that I was right. I'm not running around here trying to take no victory lap about it, but looking at it in hindsight, what I'm bringing to you guys and trying to offer is knowing that it was easily predictable that Caleb would struggle more because he was going to have to adjust to that system. And that's not the easiest thing in the world when you haven't done it. He's on the highest level in the world against the best players in the world, trying to learn a pro style system for the first time and expecting people expecting him to be Superman. He'll get there if he works. But he's got a learning curve to get around. And he's going to have to work his ass off to get there.
Like I say, it's you're very correct in what you're saying. I'm just saying it's bigger than just the quarterback, and that's what I've always been saying. It's bigger than the identity here. It always was, right? It was when Justin was here. It is now with Caleb. It would be with Jaden or Bo. That line needs to be fixed. The infrastructure around the quarterback needs to be proper, right? Like the Jaden Daniels has a mentor. He has a coach. He has an OC. He has all the things around him. He has an offensive line. He has the things around. He has a run game. He has all of the little things around him that are required. A number one wide receiver who's pretty solid, right? All of the things. Yeah, we've got some wide receivers, but our run game's an issue. Don't have anything happening in the trenches. He's running for his life. Any of these guys would be, right? So I'm not down on Caleb. Maybe Jaden was the guy. Maybe Bo was the guy. Sure. My point has always been fix it. Provide the infrastructure. He didn't do that, and that's why my eye's been with Ryan Poles. He didn't do that. He made a decision to go and get the quarterback. Cool. And then he hung him out to dry. And that's why I'm not pleased with Mr.
The decision to get the quarterback really left him no alternative but to hang him out and dry, because you gave up the opportunity, right? Trips, the assets and the opportunities to get them were there, but you chose a quarterback. That was your alternative. And so you knew going into the season that, he's going to probably struggle because I did my best with that. The assets and capital that I had to get an offensive line, but that was a job saving draft for him. He felt like he needed to do that.
Almost got him fired.
It's going to get him fired if Caleb doesn't have a quick turnaround.
Yeah. Well, definitely, because I was remembering at the time, I was like, well, Caleb Williams, he is the Hall. It's like, fuck you. The Hall is the Hall. Caleb Williams right now looks like, now it's like, hindsight second guessing, because it's like, yeah, he didn't look like the Hall. I mean, the Hall would have gotten us, another 3 or 4, good players at least, trading back, as opposed to, all right, well, we didn't take the Hall and we got our rookie quarterback who looks, like a decent quarterback. I like the fact that he looks to throw as opposed to run. Because when he runs, he gets there and he be trying hard. His little legs just be going fast, but he look like he moving. But he gets there, he'll get you your first down and he'll get down, as opposed to the athleticism of a running quarterback like a Fields or a Daniels or whoever that's going to threaten the defense with their legs. He can get a first down on a scramble. They can roll out the pocket and bootlegs and all this stuff, but he's not a running quarterback. He is not a quarterback who is good enough in the pocket to 1, 2, 3, back foot down, balls out, hit a guy in stride. We haven't seen that at all. We haven't seen him being able to anticipate passes. We haven't seen him, just do smaller things that lesser quarterbacks do. I say lesser quarterbacks because they weren't picked at number 1. They didn't skip the combine because it's like, hey, I'm Superman. I don't need this bullshit. I'm going number 1. All right, number 1. Well, you ain't playing like number 1, though, bruh. I get that the coaching's a thing. I get that the offensive line's a thing, but your just overall plays just kind of, what are we doing out there, kid? It's like, why? I just want to know. Have a reporter just ask him, yo, you've seen the film. You've seen open receivers. Why aren't you throwing the ball to the open receivers?
I gotta laugh at that because it's kind of the most obvious question to be asked. I know it'll never be asked, and that's why I was kind of just hearing Thomas Brown in his last presser. I kind of got the feeling that at some point, if not at multiple points during his tenure, he was like, what the fuck? Well, what are you seeing out there, bro? There's human beings. I've schemed these guys wide open for you. There's a check down too. What are you doing? You know what I mean? That conversation must be had. And I assume it has been. Thomas more or less confirmed it. And if that really has gone down, that conversation kind of fell on deaf ears, right? He kind of ignored it, or he just can't do it. Neither of those last answers are good because that leaves us in a situation where he's going to probably continue it next year, which is worrisome. Again, it's I don't know.
You know what freaked me out, kids, and to OKC Bear Boy is saying he was not as bad as you guys are saying. I think he's talking to us. And to his point, now
it's not like we making anything up.
No.
We watch every game.
Yeah, we watch everything just like you did, bro. We watch everything like you did. And right now you're just seeing some podcasters that aren't sparing him criticism. Whereas it's a whole lot of podcasters that are terrified to criticize this guy because nobody wants to be wrong about anything. And this ain't about being wrong. This is about being fair. And as much as I praise that kid all year long, I earn the right to have my criticism right about now. And I think everybody has. And you can criticize the guy and believe in him at the same time. Like, I'm not the pushover podcast that feels like I need to be, following the flow of what everybody else is thinking and saying. I'm not that dude. And I don't think neither one of these guys are either. I know they are.
Well, I mean, it's very easy to say, and it kind of goes along with the negativity that this fan base has, but it's like, the proof is in the pudding. The results are what they are. And looking at this, this season, it's like, yeah, there are issues surrounding his development, but him, just as a quarterback compared to other quarterbacks, he was kind of lackluster to be as hyped as he was.
There's a lot
where's the generational aspect of this bullshit? I know they say, well, we don't want to use that word. It's like, well, that's the only word we heard for how many months?
Nobody wants to use it after the fact.
Right. Talking, this guy's a generational talent. How can we pass him up?
Andrew Luck.
And then, the now it's like, okay, where's the generational? Well, he's a rookie, fellas. We have to give him time. It's like, no, I was promised generational. So show me something, despite all of the detractors for him being great, show me something, kid. And it's like, flash, nothing. Flash, nothing. Flash, nothing. And it's like, all right, we see the flashes, but we got to put some of that shit together for this to be a successful draft pick. And if he doesn't, and considering what we gave up to take him, yeah, the franchise fucked for another 7, 8, 10 years.
So Trips, all those people, those same people that were like taking that line of conversation. We got to draft him. He's going to change everything. This is the guy we got to have, or Ryan Poles have screwed this draft up. Had to do that. Those very same people are saying if we come away from this offseason without Ben Johnson, run the same shit, just in a different narrative. And people keep just running to that shit and just eating it up, gobbling it up. Like, if you don't stop listening to some of these motherfuckers out here, I know something.
Well, that's how impressionable, this many in this fan base are. It's like, well, Caleb Williams, he's the number one prospect. We need a quarterback. We got the number one pick. You got to take him. I mean, we don't take him. Poles is an idiot. Johnson is the hot coordinator name out, this year. So it's like, oh, well, we got to get him. Well, he's the number one candidate, obviously, since he's a hot name because the press said so. And it's like, we can believe the press, which has never been right, or you can just go with what you go with. And it's like, well, we didn't get Johnson, but guess what? In 3 years, Johnson sucks as a head coach. He's going back to be an offensive coordinator. We don't know that won't happen.
It's an interesting conversation. Like, and Ricky Leahy just brought up Trevor Lawrence, and like, this is where I was in the beginning of all this. Is like, as soon as they say generational, I'm like, oh no, y'all don't know what the hell y'all talking about. As soon as I heard it, I was like, you guys got to be crazy. And then I watched the tape, and I was like, yo, this tape's pretty nice. Like, the kid looks good. Is he under center frequently? No. You're gonna have to learn, which then you go and look at other tape and you can see other, Jaden Daniels and Bo, they're doing those things. They're gonna be a bit more ready for the NFL than Caleb is. So definitely some work will be required there. Once more, my problem is just, all right, so you made a decision, bro, but then you didn't buy the soil for the plant. You bought the plant. You went to the store, you bought the plant. You bought no soil, no fertilizer, no water. And you just, put the plant on your porch. No pot. You know what I mean? It's just on the porch, floundering in the sun. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff that needs to be there. There's infrastructure that's required. None of that was put into place.
So, but it sounds to me like you need, like, the goddamn air got to be perfect. The ground, the soil.
In Chicago,
like everything ain't gonna never be perfect, bro.
In Chicago, what it needs. It needs all of that. It needs to have.
Come on, though, kids.
Bro, there's never been a quarterback here worth having a conversation about.
Oh my God, I can't let you do that, because it sounds like everything needs to be like the wind speed needs to be perfect, and it's like, dude, he's gonna have to overcome many.
Here's my question: while you're going down this road, and I'll let you do it. My question is, how come Washington was able to do it for Jaden?
It's you seem to think that they had something that Chicago didn't. No, they didn't. Jaden Daniels has something to him that's called an it that some motherfuckers just don't have. He's got it.
So he doesn't have.
If you don't know what it is, you've never been around it, then you absolutely have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, that goes along with the comment that was just up there about Caleb Williams at winning it, coming alive at end of games or whatever the comment was. Bear Truth 9 maybe, or somebody put it up there. I just saw it.
What did he say?
Something about Caleb Williams doing good in games, or it was like 3 comments ago.
I don't. Yes, you might be able to pull it up.
I'm scrolling through them.
Basically, it was that Williams was good, in some games, like in the fourth quarter, or something like that. And it's like, okay, cool, but when will the number one pick, the quote unquote generational talent, when does he put the team on his back and will them to win? Whereas like Daniels, that seems to be his MO.
Mm-hmm.
That he can, will the team to a victory, whether it's him throwing, the Hail Mary or him making a game-winning drive or at least a drive to put the team in a position to make a field goal. Whereas Williams was good in the fourth quarter, better than he was in like the first quarter starting. And he seemed to get into the rhythm of the game after halftime. And that's fine. But he's still not the guy that's like, oh, yeah, Williams, he won us that game. The running game wasn't working, but he was able to get the ball out to his playmakers on time, on schedule, or make a play when he had to. That just didn't happen enough this season when the opportunities were there.
So, Trips, let me ask you, like, I don't know how many times you've seen that, but like I seen that time after time after time. If I seen it once and be like, okay, that was an anomaly. But when I see that time after time after time, that becomes what? A trait. That seems like a trait to me. Is that not a trait to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a detriment in his game that he has to improve on.
Okay, so I can't have that now. So when he started out, Nomad talking about that form. No, nobody talking about that kind of shit when we were 4-2. You know what I mean? When we were 4-2 with Caleb Williams, he was stepping up to the plate and trying to win games and getting us to the end. And then things went sideways. And after things went sideways, that was kind of the end of that. After that, it was just garbage time for 10 more games, basically. That's basically what we got after that. But in the beginning, again, rookie coming out, you could see that moxie. He was definitely trying. Things went sideways. He kind of tapered off. It doesn't. One of the things I want to say here before we get too far away from the conversation we're having is a lot of the stuff in the chat is by way of stats, and numbers lie and all that, right? So we also have to recognize I haven't watched every Washington Commanders game this season. Let's just be real. Maybe I'll go back and do it in the offseason, right? Maybe I will. Doubtful. But maybe I will, just to have this argument. But if we're lining up numbers, Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, we have to recognize that for a fair amount of this season, it was clear and obvious. Whether it was Thomas Brown as the OC or whoever, there was an aversion, if not a fear, to throw the ball down the field. And I'm putting it at the OC level first. That fear might also have something to do with Caleb Williams himself. But at some point, they were like, you know what? Let's just screen all day long. Let's just screen. And we saw that the year before, right? With Luke Getsy, and we're all like, whoa, enough with the screens. But at some point, we stopped and we kind of recognized that maybe Luke Getsy didn't have the faith, that fear. Maybe there was a fear in allowing Justin Fields to actually throw the ball down the field. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe it was inaccurate, what have you. Notice that this has happened with two completely separate quarterbacks with separate skill sets all on the same team, right? So you kind of have to sort of look at where Caleb Williams is as a rookie and then look at those stats that you're lining up and recognize a lot of it was yak yardage and a lot of it was garbage time. And I'm pro Caleb here. Like I'm just saying, like, don't get yourself into a semantic statistical argument when there's evidence and data to the opposite, right? Let's just support the kid and where he's going. I'm just being real here. His numbers are similar to Jaden's. They're not that far off. But again, we just watched this last game against the Packers where we won a week and a bit ago. And I don't think DJ Moore got a downfield pass, that last pass, when nobody was expecting it anymore. Nobody was like, you know what I mean? Like, he's wide open at this point. We change it up. They'll never guess that I'm going to throw you the ball in wide open space because, you know what I mean? I'm being a jerk now. But, like, the reality is a lot of it was screens. A lot of it was behind. A lot of it was yak.
But look at what Marlon is saying. Even when Marlon Johnson saying And thank you for this. Even when he had time to throw, he was missing wide open receivers.
He has some accuracy issues down the field, like he does, and I think we can all admit that. I think, heck, Caleb's definitely admitted it a couple of times on his own, but he'll get better with those things. We all know that he will. It's going to be a little bit. It's going to take work, and it's going to take some time. Again, in my opinion, he's still a rookie, right? Nomad may disagree with that, but he's got a ways to go. He's got some learning to do.
Why would I disagree with that?
Because you said last week that at this point he's probably not a rookie. He's played 17 games.
Oh, no, he's no rookie no more.
Well, at this point, he's not a rookie anymore.
Yeah, he's not a rookie no more.
And that's fair. That's why I said, in my opinion, he's still a rookie because he's got that additional learning curve of not playing under center, whereas again, a Jaden and a Bo Nix have done that. They have that in their bag of tricks. He's just now getting it. So little ways for him to go. But more importantly, that deep ball needs work. Recognizing wide open receivers as a part of your progression needs work. And like I say, I hope that he'll get there. What he needs, though, is he needs to have a guy beside him who knows how to do it so he can learn from him. He also needs to have a viable offensive coordinator and quarterback team to help him get there too. Most importantly, though, a head coach with half a fucking brain.
So I was watching. See, to me, like I can't. It's a lot of directions I could point as to things that went wrong on Chicago's offense that contributed to some of Caleb's failures. There were things. There was times when that offensive line was worse than shaky, but there's also times when that offensive line was pretty damn good and giving him plenty of protection, and he just wasn't delivering on his execution part of it, on his part of it. And so I'm saying that to say this because Cam Newton has a podcast, and recently he did like 5. I think he listed 5 things that he wanted every rookie to pay attention to, and it felt damn near like he was talking about Caleb Williams. And one of the first things he said was, number 1, you're a rookie. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You're a rookie. Don't nobody give no fuck about where you came from, what kind of awards and trophies that you got while you was in college. Shut the fuck up. Don't run your mouth. Just go out there and say, what can I do to help this team? And I think that was, and he went down the list of like it doesn't matter, like all those people that cheered you on and rooted you on and just all those accolades, that don't mean nothing. You're a rookie in the NFL, and you won't be there for long if you don't learn the NFL way. And so I'm saying all this because when Caleb said that thing about and he's just having fun on social media, I get all that. Talking about the punter, you ain't gonna have to punt that much.
Yeah.
You just unnecessarily put pressure on you that you didn't need. You know what I mean?
Let's be real about that though. Like
that was cute, but look at that in hindsight.
It looks terrible in hindsight, but it shouldn't. You know what I mean? This shouldn't even be a hindsight look, right? It should have been like he's a generational quarterback who came in and put up numbers, and the kicker really never didn't get the opportunity to kick the foot. Like what he was saying should have been factual. It's factual just about everywhere else in the NFL, but somehow this offense completely shit the bed this season. And like Black Diamond, I love you, my brother, but I can't really like we're coming off a 5-win season. I can't sing the praises of hollow stats. They did nothing. They're completely hollow, right?
The only stats that matter are W's and L's.
Those are the stats, bro. Where do they get you? Did they get you to the playoffs? Cool. I'd be happy with a 2,000-yard passing season with Caleb if we had a run game and the offense was clicking, they're scoring points somehow, and we got to the playoffs. Hey, he still has work to do. He's got to grow. He's a rookie. I'm fine either way, but I'm just painting it the way that it is. The numbers are great, but
But
Rookies
there's
are doing well.
an aspect of the team that I believe we spoke on before. It may have been a extra sauce. Make sure you are tuning in to the extra sauce on Wednesdays at 8 to all the no maniacs out there and all the future no maniacs who are down with the real football talk. But remember when what the fuck was I about to say? God damn it.
Talking
shut
about
up.
rookies and shutting the fuck up. And
Oh
Caleb,
no, the team wise, kids. Do you think DJ Cole Kmet, Odunze? Do you think they respect Caleb as a teammate?
Oh well.
you better be careful before you answer this one.
So I can't paint everybody with the same brush here. I'm gonna paint them differently. I think the two guys that they extended are pissed. I think the rookie's cool though.
Because he don't know no better.
He don't have nothing to worry about. He's signed. He's good to go for the next couple of years. He's got room to grow.
I answer that shit though, Kedz, because I got a straight up and down answer for that one.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to answer first?
Oh no, you can answer it for yourself. Yeah,
you go ahead. He asked you first.
Well, I'm not gonna let you put words in my mouth. I just said what you know what I'm saying. I just said what I said. I think Rome's got a ways to go. I think he's fine with his situation, with a slight exception that, you know, and to a certain degree he was yeah. Let's just be real. He is a ninth drafted pick at WR3. And real talk, he definitely played WR3 for the Bears this season, right? He was a third option, and in many cases, not an option at all. You know, the other two guys, though, they signed big contracts. They were expecting, Cole Kmet was definitely expecting a 700-yard season this year. I'll be hard pressed to hear Cole Kmet got 200 yards.
As many games as he went without a reception or even a pass attempt. Damn.
Let's make it even worse, right? So, and then you got DJ, right? DJ definitely was hoping to have at the very end. Remember, hey, we're all gonna race to it's a race to 1,000, so you can get there first. Whoops.
So, right. Trips, you asked, right? Do I think Caleb has earned the respect of his guys, right?
Right.
I think that's kind of what you're trying to get at, right?
Yeah, of his weapons and of his offense, just his offense.
I would say absolutely no. Absolutely not. And not that he can't earn the respect of his weapons. Thus far, I would say absolutely not. All I got to do is look at their body language when they're interacting on the field while they're playing. All I have to do is watch the O-line interact with Caleb when he's on the ground, which they do not, and leave him on the ground. That tells me everything I need to know. He has not earned the respect of his teammates yet. Absolutely not. Receivers be damned. They ain't with him yet. They not with him yet. And that's a hurdle he has to climb. It's something I kept hearing Thomas Brown into in his pressers. And I hear Caleb reiterate when he's after Thomas Brown. And he's like, Caleb needs to work with his receivers in the offseason and get online with those guys. Y'all's Wi-Fi need to connect in the same y'all need to be on the same goddamn Wi-Fi. And Thomas Brown is kind of saying that. And so what he does in the offseason, will they get together? But no, absolutely not. He's not earned the respect of his teammates, not yet. Hopefully he gets there. I pray he does.
Well, I am going to agree with the chat on this one. I'm over the whole body language thing, but I do agree with you. Definitely with DJ. Definitely with Cole Kmet. I guess the list is probably a little bit longer if you're.
Wait a minute. The body language thing. All you have to do is watch the game and see what's going on in and around the huddle, and on the sidelines. Like, it'll tell you a lot if you just watch closely. Don't dismiss it, man, because it's real shit that happens, bro.
I mean, not even just the body language. You look at the facial expressions.
Yes.
You know, when DJ breaks open and he's like, give me the ball, and the ball is like 10 feet over his head or way out of bounds, he rolls his eyes like, oh, what the fuck? You know, it's like, again. And it just looks like they are frustrated because when they are open, they don't get the ball. And so now it's like they go half-assed to get open because it's like, well, what's the point? I'm not going to get the ball anyway. And so when he does have time behind the offensive line and there's nobody open, they're just kind of half-assed and like, oh, now you want to throw us the ball? And it just seems like they're not on beat. You know, Caleb's on page 1 and everybody else is on page 4. Or, you know, they're not together. And there's just no cohesion with that offense at all.
It's real easy to see, kids. I hate to interrupt you like that, but you can't brush over that, man, because some of that stuff, I just challenge you to go look at you got to look at the live broadcast again and see what happens. Like, they only give us so much that we can see, but as soon as that camera pans to the sideline or I'm looking at that stuff because I know that we can't hear the stuff live, but I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly what's going on, and sometimes you don't need to hear shit. All you got to do is look at the body language, the eyes. It is easy to discern that he hasn't earned the respect of his teammates yet.
Well, like I said, I agree with you. I'm just tired of the whole body language conversation. Like, folks is tired about the whole leader of men. I'm with the leader of man. I'm over the body language, but it is of no consequence. I agree with you, right? I agree that DJ doesn't respect him, and to be frank with you, why would he? There's really only one guy on that offense that should respect Caleb Williams. He's probably not going to be here next year.
Who you talking about?
You know who I'm talking about.
I think Keenan was like his saving grace. Kind of, it's like when the stuff that me and Trips is talking about, when the body language is bad and they like, oh fuck this motherfucker. Keenan was the one on the sidelines, like, you know, coaching him up and like keeping his spirits up, because it seemed like I seen him sitting next to Rome like 3 or 4 times during games, and it was like Rome was on a completely different planet than Caleb. I'm not saying that he doesn't like the guy or anything like that. I'm not going to ever say that because I don't fucking know that. But I can tell that their Wi-Fi was different. Does that make sense?
Like I said, you're correct. I just don't.
Well, I mean, the look in the face,
body language. Right?
Well, when they look at the Surface tablets after a failed series, and it's like it just looked like DJ's looking out of the corner of his eye, like, you see, I'm open right there, right, motherfucker, right? Why don't you throw me the ball? And Caleb's just looking at the surface, like, oh, I guess you were open, and they just never seem to just click at all.
It's too obvious it's so obvious, kids. And it's
like I said, you can argue this with me. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying I don't like it. You know what I mean? I don't like it. I don't really care about the body language thing. I hear what you're saying though. But I do want to, like, Cornell, we can say that they don't, like, he's not saying what he's saying is, he says, Nomad, I know you've been in a huddle before, but like, come on, man. You can't say that they don't respect him. I'm saying, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying, like, being disrespectful is different than you haven't earned my respect. Like, it's two different things, right? You know the difference. Like you, like, kids, like, if I haven't earned your respect, that's one thing. You being disrespectful to me or me being disrespectful to you is another, right?
For sure. You could
be. What I'm trying to tell Cornell is a difference. I don't think they're disrespectful towards him. I just don't think he's earned their respect yet.
And I'm in full agreement with you there. Like I was saying, again, DJ Moore was a 1,300-yard wide receiver last season. He's not this year. Cole Kmet was a 700+ yard tight end last year. He's not this year, right? So by way of respect, new guy comes in the building and your numbers tank, you're going to lose, especially over time. It's like it's the guy who to me is the most obvious is really Cole, because at some point this season it had to become obvious to him that he wasn't getting the football.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point during the season, oh man, I ain't even been targeted today.
Now, if somebody lost respect for Caleb, I think that it might be Cole might be the guy.
Well, I think both of them did. I don't know what,
something happened between them. Like, something got way left with them. But that shit was uncalled for. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah, because at last I saw Komet was out there with Williams for his day at USC celebrating with him. But it's like, how come you never throw your tight end the ball? I mean, he's open and you just don't throw it to him.
You know,
I mean, what is that?
In the chat, if you're looking, like there's folks saying, oh, like, you know, people are half-assing the routes. Okay, well, maybe we can sit here and say that DJ Moore, let's just zero in and say DJ Moore was half-assing his routes. But that doesn't explain what's up with Cole Kmet. That doesn't explain 0 targets for Cole Kmet. That doesn't explain how frequently, and you guys can go back and watch the games if you want, but I'm pretty sure you watch the same games I did. Cole Kmet was open all the time, like a ridiculous amount. So I don't, you know what I mean? I don't get that. And at the end of the season, when things are getting towards the end, he's like, look, I don't even want to talk about this. I can't even be positive about this anymore. Like, we just got blown out.
That man was struggling, man. That man was struggling like black folks in the 60s out there.
What was he going to say? Oh, well, I dropped the ball. Well, come on. He didn't even pass the ball to you.
So, and Derek Carter's asking, he's asking why. He says, so Nomad, why do you think Caleb was missing 20 yards plus? Because I think so footwork, timing, speed of how everything is happening, all was all was their own separate planets. None of that shit was tied together this year, and his rhythm was so fucking off. He couldn't hit a long shot to save his damn life, and that was that's called I'm ready for pro style football and the speed of the game, or you're not. And he was not. And his timing was so fucking off. And it's not that guy can't throw the ball deep. I just think his touch on deep balls, trajectory issues, like when he just chose to lob balls when he should have put a line on it and put, sometimes you got to javelin throw that thing and throw it in the air and drop it into a bucket. And there's other times when it needs to be shot out of an arrow. I mean, it needs to be shot straight down the line, and you need to put it on somebody. It's like he couldn't tell the difference in when to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's quarterback shit, man. Real quarterbacky stuff, knowing when to put a touch ball out there and when to put a shot out there. Like you in between. Sometimes I see it in the 25 yards and in when he's just doing a simple 7-yard slant and he's trying to take the damn receiver's head off with the speed of the ball. He's got to take some shit off that damn thing sometimes. And so his timing and touch was way off this year.
I think it had a lot to do with footwork that you just touched on, right? Like that's the one little complaint I have for Caleb personally is just that he doesn't really get the foot set, the back foot. And that's going to cause balls to get lofted, and it's going to cause things to be a little bit less accurate. So because he's not paying attention to the accuracy part, he's trying to sort of freestyle it, which again looks awesome if it works, but it might lead to some wayward balls, right? And I have to point at OKC Bear Boy, bro. So these comments, I just want to, I'm going to read them, and I'm going to ask you.
Put it up.
I'm going to put them up. I'm going to read them and put them up. But I just want to ask you, like how biased are these comments? You know what I'm saying? Like they're a little bit biased. All right. So if you are game planning, Kmet should be 4th in the ranking. What if Kmet is the #1 wide open weapon against your opponent? What if that's what the situation is? Should he still be 4th?
It could be 3 games in a row. Cole Kmet's the #1 target.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It could well be. How come, for instance, how come Kansas City utilizes Travis Kelce? And I'm not saying that Cole Kmet is Travis Kelce, but how come they can utilize that tight end basically as wide receiver 1? I don't know. Maybe because they know what the F they're doing. Kmet is not a weapon. Here's the next one. Really? He put up 700+ yards as a tight end last year. That sounds like weaponry. He's an average tight end. All right, I'll give you that one. But that doesn't explain leaving him wide open and not hitting him to gain yardage, does it? You lose the football game, or do you gain the yardage? Do you get the first down, or do you take a sack? I don't get it. So like these comments to me, I'm just looking at them.
And then I saw one comment that said he drops a lot of passes.
I'll accept that.
All right, true.
I'll accept that.
But you still got to throw him the ball as the quarterback. I mean, you can't be like, right. It's like, well, I could take this sack because everybody else is covered. That dude is open, but he's going to drop it, so I'm not going to throw it to him. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Hey, guys, it's 145 people in here. Please hit the like button, whether you agree or disagree with some of the stuff that was said, and you've been here this long and you're enjoying the content. Please be, just hit the like button, man. It's just a polite thing to do.
Anyways, don't take this conversation personally, Bears fans out there. Like, don't. This is just the conversation that should be had. This is the objective conversation that a lot of people are avoiding, right? And the only reason to have this conversation is in hopes that the kid grows and gets better in those areas.
I got a question to you guys, though, because there is, and we're gonna have to go pure. I mean, I'm serious when I say this. Trips, Kedz, this is gonna be pure speculation. Use your good common sense and discern what could have possibly went wrong to the point where Cole Kmet gets 0 targets during games. Something obviously was somebody got pissed off about something. I'll lead this conversation with this. Thomas Brown came in right away and said that he was going to button up some of the leaking that was coming out of the building. And one of the things that, if you're a football player, you know this. When you entrenched in that locker room culture, it's like, man, keep our shit in here, right? That's like a code. You gotta know that. And when you got guys leaking and saying shit and doing too much, Cole Kmet's got a podcast, and I would say after a game, in the last 3 or 4 games, Cole Kmet was saying a lot. And me on the outside, us as podcasters, you got to appreciate it because it gives us content, right? And so when he has something to say, we latch right on to it. But on the flip side of that, when he goes back in that locker room, like somebody's in there like, motherfucker, you talk too much. Somebody's in that locker room telling him, motherfucker, you talk too much. And it could have been Thomas Brown. And it's like, fuck this. I might not get this job, but I'm gonna make him an example. You out here running your mouth on these podcasts. We trying to get our shit right. But you running your mouth out here being popular with these podcasts. I'm not accusing Cole Kmet of anything. I said we were going to get into pure speculation. In my opinion, I believe that's what happened.
Well, so what? Just to infer here. So what you're saying is that Thomas Brown put the kibosh to Cole Kmet because he was running his mouth. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think so.
Yeah. The only reason I'm going to earnestly disagree is that they had no plans for Cole Kmet all season. So we started
he was getting targets. He was getting some targets. He would come out of the game with at least minimum of 3 targets. Now, come on,
dog. We've had this conversation.
Well, there's several where he got like 0.
And we're talking game 1, no targets. They had Gerald.
I don't remember those before Thomas Brown.
I do. Game 1. Game 1, 0 targets, nothing for Cole Kmet, and I was shocked. I was like, why is Gerald Everett out there? And then game 2, they decided to target him, and we win. I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool, all right. So Kmet's back in, and then they forgot about his ass again. And we lose the game. They bring him back. We win the game. Every game we won, Kmet was utilized. Every game we lost, and there was a lot of them, are games where Kmet has less, a very slight amount of targets. In many cases, 0, 1, or maybe 3 targets. And again, maybe even 3 might be a lot for some tight ends out there, but not for a 700-yard tight end the previous year. That guy should at least be targeted if he's open. I don't know.
All right, that's my point. I mean,
I can't put it on T. Brown, man.
I'm trying to get an instinctual answer as to why Cole Cole Kmet wasn't getting those targets. I gave you my answer. You're saying basically you did such a big in and around, you never got to the point. You saying it's on Caleb or what?
What I'm really saying is that it's unfortunately, yes, it's either in the beginning of the season, I was blaming Waldron. I was like, this is Waldron's doing because Waldron has inserted Gerald Everett instead of Cole Kmet. This is a personnel issue. And then they stopped playing Everett altogether, ran with Kmet, and then just forgot he was on the team. Turned him into a blocking tight end when you have Mercedes Lewis sitting on the bench, but he's your blocking tight end. I don't get half this shit. It doesn't make sense. But long story short, I have to put it on Caleb because it can't.
Can I add a little nuance to it, Kedz? Just for the record, I saw a lot of. I mean, I say a lot of times. I seen more times than I was comfortable with that Cole Kmet was an inline blocking tight end and who didn't really execute his assignment a lot of times. And I think, we talked about this live on shows, Kedz, and I think it was he's a substitute for the ineptitude sometimes with the offensive line. And when they had a tackle who was struggling, Cole Kmet was used to be an inline blocker to help chip and help that tackle out. And a lot of times, for a guy like Cole Kmet, that's not fair because he wants to be a primetime player and he wants to get those targets. But a lot of times I noticed that Cole Kmet in that game plan was more of an inline blocker than he was a receiver, if that makes sense. So he's not schemed into the game plan to be catching a whole lot of balls. He's schemed into this game plan to make sure that the quarterback is protected. I saw that a lot of times.
But shouldn't and this is why I lose it, right? Like, but shouldn't that have been the role of the guy whose role that actually is, being the big dog? Like, shouldn't that be the big dog?
Obvious. That's too obvious. When he comes trotting out in the field, they know exactly what that is.
So we're so cute. You know what I'm saying? So we're so cute that we can't do the obvious. Let's be tricky and get the guy who's not really a blocking tight end to do the blocking.
Kids, that's obvious, man. The game plan is going to tell those guys on the other side of the field. They know what's coming when 84 comes in the game. They know exactly what's coming, what to expect.
Well, but then that's when any smart offensive coordinator is going to be like, all right, Kmet, you are an inline blocker. When the protection breaks down, which it did a lot, sneak out and get the little dump off pass. Nobody's covering you. They're 10, 15 yards downfield by then. That's easy yardage.
That motherfucker dropped a couple too, didn't he?
Oh no, and in that respect, we all have to agree. Like, maybe he'll drop the pass. Like, let's be real about it. Let's be real about it. But those little situations that Tripp is actually bringing to light happen quite frequently. There was a bunch of times where he snuck out and got wide open for easy 7 yards. I'm not talking 15, 25. You know what I mean? But an easy 7? Yep. Cole Kmet was basically sneaking out after those chips and turning around in soft areas of the zone. And what would more likely happen is there would either be a sack or Caleb Williams would target Roma Dunze, which isn't bad either, except that deep ball is a little bit shaky. So is what it is. I'm just saying there was multiple times, and again, feel free to watch, where 85 turns around, soft zone, mad room, and the ball either never comes out or goes somewhere else. So I just say get the first down.
I was frustrated about Cole Kmet, but the most frustrating part of this season is how we use DJ Moore. And I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself, and I understood why. And in fact, I said this as much on the show. Kedz and I were doing live content, watching these games, and we were all confused. Everybody in the chat was so confused about why in the fuck are they calling screen passes and screen passes to DJ Moore. They're trying to get him in the game. They're trying to keep him involved in the game, and they knew that Caleb's deep pass touch was way the fuck off, We can't scheme that into the game plan. They know that Caleb Williams' deep pass was off with DJ Moore. Their Wi-Fi wasn't connected. And
very specifically with DJ, you're right.
Why would you scheme that into the offense when you know it's not working? And so what's the best next thing you can do, Kedz or Trips? You go to the short game, right? And so I got frustrated at first, but it took me a minute to clear it through my office in my brain that they can't throw deep to DJ Moore. And that's why they're doing this stuff.
Yeah. Well, then it came out that, oh, shit, it can't throw deep to anybody. You know, even with time. The longest pass was, Keenan Allen up the sideline. And it wasn't like a long pass, but he hit him in stride when he was like wide open. He just ran up the other 45 yards for the touchdown. You know, it's not like he lifted that ball out there. You know, we haven't seen any deep posts. We haven't seen any, successful deep passes to any, number that we can count. And it's like, yeah, all right, offensive line, granted. Offensive play calling, granted. But when the time is there, your number one quarterback ought to be able to complete, a pass 20 plus yards down the field. And then the question becomes, well, why aren't the receivers and the quarterback just on the same page with anything, not just deep passes, but, short routes, comebacks, short throws, anything. And it's like they haven't worked together. And I know he's a rookie, but it's like, dude, as soon as you get drafted, it's like, who are my receivers? All right, we're going to meet up in Florida, California, wherever the fuck, and we're going to run some routes. And we're going to get on the same page. It's like they didn't do any of that. And it's like you get to the game, and it's like, well, how come there's no timing? It's like, do y'all even practice deep passes or timing routes? Because you don't run them in the game, so it's a fair question. And so I'm just hoping that this offseason, they actually get together and, run some routes and learn each other, get together.
Wasn't that some frustrating shit to watch? And it's a lot of times, at first, when it first started going on, I'm just like, holy shit, I know they ain't just going to just constantly run screen passes with DJ Moore. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, okay, in practice, that shit ain't working. Whatever they want to take a shot with DJ deep ain't fucking working in practice. And this is their plan B. And how can we best scheme this up to include DJ and he be satisfied? And I think they had to get DJ to a place where he understood that this is what it's going to be. That's what it looked like to me. That's just me speaking. Whatever y'all's opinion is what it is. But that's what I saw.
Man, we watched that shit together. So my take is very identical, right? So I looked at DJ, real talk, a couple games where they just couldn't get him involved in the right manner at all. I'm kind of happy that they started to figure it out towards the end of the season, and it wound up resulting in a win against the Packers. But that telepathy between those two that receiver and that QB ain't there. I feel like it's a little bit there with Keenan, and I just don't know what what are they going to do with that? I don't know what they do there, because man,
yeah, you're not re-signing Keenan Allen for 2 years at 15 to 20 mil a season, are you? Come on.
Not after you drafted a wide receiver with the 9th overall pick, right? Like he should be your WR2 getting targets, and he's not. So I like to be, man, things I hate to say. If there's a way to get out of the DJ Moore situation and keep Keenan Allen, I'd be interested to hear what it sounds like.
Why do you want to get out of the DJ Moore situation?
For the obvious reason.
Ain't no obvious reason to me. DJ Moore is bad as fuck. I don't
ever. By no means am I saying he's not. What I am saying is what you just finished saying, and it's that those two guys don't have chemistry. You get it? That's it. That's all I'm saying. If there's no chemistry between those two guys,
now that makes more sense. Now, but
sure.
Now it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, man. It's like sometimes it's like you gotta make this shit work. You know what I mean? It's not like no kids. It's not like a situation where you can kind of get out of. You could trade DJ Moore at your own risk. You can get rid of DJ Moore at your own goddamn risk. But but basically, if you do that, you're accusing him of not being able to get in joint. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm talking about if you do a move like you're trying to, basically what you're saying to the quarterback, I'm going to get you the guy that you want, instead of saying, look, this you got to make this. Y'all got to make this work. Y'all are both great players. Get some fucking where it's hot and warm and get it in. All that bullshit, y'all can not like each other just fine. I hope you motherfuckers hate each other. But when it comes to this football, get your shit on the right Wi-Fi. You need a coach that insists on that happening. It can't be that, okay, get him out of here because he done jail with Caleb. Fuck all that. Make Caleb get this shit right with him. Make it right. There's no DJ's got a contract. He should be here. He's a great receiver, and that was a great move by Ryan Poles.
It wasn't. Newsflash.
Come on, dog.
It wasn't, right? So, and let me explain why it wasn't. I like DJ Moore. I think he's an amazing wide receiver, and just about everything you said with respect to him rings true. What doesn't ring true is that contract. Why would you sign a guy to a long-term contract with no evidence as to whether him and the quarterback have chemistry? Why would you do that? There's no.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna just automatically be like, well, they got chemistry. You know, it's like, no, you got to develop the chemistry.
Shouldn't you?
And OKC, I believe, said that, you know, running routes against air isn't the same as, you know, game time and defense and all that, but you still build that chemistry. It's like, all right, I know just from running routes on air in the offseason that when DJ cuts like this, he likes the ball there, you know, out in front of him. Or when I throw a back shoulder route, Komet's going to react like this. And so you have that understanding of the quarterback and the receivers being on the same page, and then you add in live reps against the defense. But you don't even have chemistry. Live reps are going to be that much worse. You know, that's why during the offseason, quarterbacks and receivers get together to run routes on air. You know, with that familiarity, they'd be like, look, man, our offensive line is only giving us this amount of time. What we're going to do is this. You're going to run this. You're going to run this slant. You're going to run this quick out, and we're going to make it happen. Now, granted, he's a rookie, so you don't really expect all of that. That might be a bit much, but he's generational, so who knows? But you would like to see them at least get on the same page during the offseason. And then during the season, it should be that much easier to do against competition.
Trips, I want a coach so bad to come in here. Like I can see Thomas Brown insistent on the work happening. You know what I mean? That's why you got to have the right coach. The right coach is going to insist that happens in the offseason. And if it's me coming to take this job in Chicago and it's like, say I'm a Thomas Brown or somebody that's coming in, I'm gonna talk to my wife and my children and say, you know what, I'm gonna give y'all mama everything she wants this summer, and she gonna take y'all to Disney night. She gonna take y'all anywhere y'all want to go all summer. But daddy ain't gonna be there. You know why? Because daddy gonna be somewhere where the fuck DJ Moore and Caleb Williams and them are, and facilitating and making sure that fucking connectivity happens. Get them motherfuckers on the same Wi-Fi. They don't have to like each other. They do not have to like each other, but connect they must.
They must connect, and that's really why I was saying that signing the contract with DJ when he signed it was a mistake. You kind of wanted to go through the season, if not maybe up until the trade deadline. I don't know, but you definitely wanted to actually see them in action and whether they had that chemistry before you sign them to a long-term situation. Now let's double it and triple it. You drafted another wide receiver. You got another free agent wide receiver. So there's options here for you as a GM. You don't have to do that. There's time, right? Instead, he jumped into this thing, retained DJ Moore, and we've now gone through a season. And I think everybody can say that chemistry is probably not there with those two guys. I feel the chemistry is definitely there with Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen has no contract with us. Oops. Ryan Poles didn't sign that guy. Right? Like just little gaffes that were made here on this offense that kind of make things a little bit wonky moving into the next season. I assume DJ Moore is going to stay. I think he's an amazing wide receiver, as does everybody else. I just don't know if these two guys are going to click. And if they can't click, you might want to do something about it as a GM. You know, you're kind of suggesting to push a square peg into a round hole here and force these two guys to get it. And cool, if it works, cool. But what if it don't work?
Kids, you can't worry about that. You can't worry about that. What you have to know is what are the there's factors in any equation, and two of them are the same: talent, right? Supreme talent.
Okay.
Can they equal out to a sum that works, right? And you're telling me that these two motherfuckers can't get around each other, and they don't have to like each other and hang out with each other off the field. But you telling me for 60 minutes, these two talented motherfuckers there's a talented motherfucker that can throw the ball with wicked arm talent. There's a talented motherfucker that can receive it and do crazy shit when he gets the ball in his hands. Are you telling me because they don't really care for each other in one way or the other, that's a reason to throw that shit away? No. When I see this guy, DJ Moore, get out there and have the best season of his entire career with the quarterback he just knew for a couple of months, and then you tell me all of a sudden, nah, I'm not hearing that bullshit. It's like you're trying to avoid giving Caleb criticism. I ain't here for it.
I don't know how that works. I don't know how that turns into.
You want to get rid of DJ? Shit, come on, man.
Should we get rid of Caleb?
I ain't saying all that. I'm just saying.
Like, what are you saying? Like,
you can't make it work if your
my comment doesn't have anything to do with like Caleb versus DJ. Caleb was just drafted by this team to be its franchise quarterback.
It was going down that road.
Technically,
it was going down
everybody
that road,
else on the offense is kind of expended.
It was definitely going down that road, bro.
No, I wasn't at all. I said what I said. Stop putting words in my mouth.
I said what I said. I'm just saying that's where it was sounding. That's the way it was sounding.
Well, it's got nothing to do with Caleb versus DJ. That's a non-issue because again, this team has invested in this young man. So that offense has to work. If it doesn't work with a specific wide receiver, you got to do something about it. I don't know what that is.
But it's not like the receiver is not productive. It's not like the receiver is
great.
Like a Claypool. You know, he's good. It's just we need a quarterback that can get him the damn ball.
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to avoid saying.
Nobody's trying to avoid saying that. And like what I can say again, you're missing me, right? So you really got into a place where it's Caleb versus DJ. It's much more of a place where it's Caleb versus Keenan, because one has a contract, the other has a chemistry, right? Keenan has the chemistry with the quarterback. He does. So who do you keep? Do you keep them both? Which means they re-sign Keenan Allen? Or do they build the chemistry with DJ? Which is really what I hope happens, but I have no evidence of it.
Well, is it the chemistry with Keenan Allen because of the routes he runs, whereas DJ's a little bit deeper and Keenan's a little bit shorter?
That's a good call. To me, it's probably more just, and I hate to say this is just a jerk store thing to say, but I think it's just more respect. I think Caleb respects Keenan for who he is and where he's been and what he's done, and probably has a little bit less respect for a DJ Moore, right? That's just my take on it. And
so whose problem is that? If you can't discern who is the culprit there, that could be a two-way street. And how to make those streets connect, you need the right coach to make sure it happens. happens. And I think
Well, yeah, that's why coaching matters, because
Yes.
they can get those guys to get on the same page.
If they can do that, fantastic. More power, more power to whoever that coaching candidate is.
I mean, because remember, they came in with Shane Waldron, and he lasted, a month. So what kind of teaching was he able to do? None. What kind of strides were they able to make to get the wide receiver and quarterback on the same page? None. And so it's just now, they're just figuring it out as they go along throughout the season. It's like, oh, he's open. Why didn't you throw the ball? Oh, I guess I missed him. Oh, he's open. Why didn't you throw the ball? I was getting rushed. I didn't see you because the defense was in my face. Oh, well, how come Komet can't get no love? How come this? How come that? Because of the offensive line. Because of the offensive coordinator. And it's like those answers only go so far for so long. It has to come to a point where the receivers and the quarterback are like, hey, I see you. I know what you're going to do. Down and distance, we're going to figure this shit out. Now, this is rookie season, so you got to give him a little time, but it would have been better with better coaching.
Hey, Trips, how many times did you hear at Caleb's ending press conference? I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Matter of fact, I know you was watching because I was watching it and I saw you in the chat, and that motherfucker was absolutely crazy. I wanted to get in, but it was too nuts for me. But I saw you there, and a few times I heard him say he needs to mature, and he's going to try to do everything he can to mature a whole lot more in the offseason. And I don't know how most people read that, but the way I read that is it goes to the conversation I'm having with Kedz and the back and forth we're having about, who's at fault, who needs to get it right. Do you throw away a DJ Moore and not accuse Caleb, or is Caleb right? DJ Moore wasn't doing it. Any way you want to look at that, he came away from that conversation saying that I need to mature more and I need to work my ass off in the offseason and I need to get with my guys. And is that not what you heard?
Yeah. So basically saying I'm not there yet. That's what I heard. It's like, yeah, I still need work with this shit. I'm not as Superman as I thought.
Yeah, there was a lot of ums, but he knew it. You could tell that closing meeting that he had with his coaches was pretty clear and concise, dog. You got to get your shit together, bro.
And you can tell from the comments because loose lips. Waldron was not on Caleb's ass, because Waldron didn't coach them hard. So Waldron is like, okay, rookie, number one quarterback, do what you want to do. Okay, it's all fine. And Flus, he didn't know shit. So what was he going to teach him? And then by the time Waldron was fired, everything went cattywampus. And now it looked like Thomas Brown was able to do some things when he was just merely the offensive coordinator there for that couple weeks. And so it's like, okay, this offense is coachable. They were able to, start scoring some points, but we need that to develop more and not just, we saw some flashes. Now Brown's not the OC anymore. He's the HC. And so things are different. And then the offense went back to looking like shit. Man. So good coaching matters. And the experience, now that Caleb is like, oh shit, I thought I was going to go into the league and light it up. But obviously I got some work to do, starting with my teammates.
It was pretty clear. All you gotta do is look at the closing presser and you will see. I looked at Caleb's, then I looked at Thomas Brown's. If I look at Thomas Brown and look at the guys in the locker room, these guys are fresh off of a closing interview with the coaches, giving them advice on what to do, right? And critiquing them on what we can do to get better. And so if you put it all together, you can discern what most of the conversation was about. And what Tripp just got through saying was real clear and just clearly consistent. Caleb Williams knows that he has an uphill battle to climb. And how you do that is what we're talking about now. We're criticizing Caleb in a way that is fair, but at the same time, it's so many things that are easy remedies to getting yourself where you need to be And that is getting with your guys and winning the respect and admiration of your guys, because if you work your ass off, that was another thing that came out at the end was there's reports, per David Kaplan, if you want to listen to anything he says, David Kaplan, he's getting reports from many, many people inside the building that says Caleb doesn't work worth shit. And he's got to up his work ethic. And so when you heard him talking at the press conference, after listening to what David Kaplan said, then you give that some legitimacy because he's admitting that I got a lot of work to do. And so, I want to keep this conversation going, but I know I can't because it's my girlfriend's off day and she left me alone for 3.5 hours. And we're going to have to continue it on some extra sauce though. But hey, you know what? I ain't going to stop it right there. I'm just going to let Kedz say what he got to say because I can see him getting himself ready for something.
Oh, I was just wondering what kind of extra sauce your girlfriend putting on her feet.
I like Hidden Valley.
Sunday's barbecue sauce.
It's Sweet Baby Ray's. Hey, look, man, I don't.
Because Friday is tartar sauce. Saturday night's a little taste of honey.
Ooh wee! Wow.
Wednesday's a little chocolat.
Well. Look, y'all. Look, it's real funny to look at the chat when we talk real about the way this team performed, because people get so defensive. OKC Bear Boy, I'm just messing with you, but you know what's up. Like, people are so defensive with the honest to goodness conversations that need to be had with you about your quarterback, right? So we all love him. We want the best for him. We want the best for this team, but you have to be objective and really actually look at it for what it is. He was a rookie. He's got some ways to go. I don't put all the blame on him. That's me personally. There's a lot of factors that weighed into where he got to. And, Nomad has actually just hit on a couple that other people are putting out there. If Dave Kaplan is saying he's not the first guy in the locker room and the last guy out, whereas that was the criticism of a certain guy who may have been here before, and he actually was, it's important stuff to take into consideration. I've got no proof of that, but if Dave Kaplan is saying it, it must hurt him to say something like that, given again how much greatness he's chased in the past. Haha, like how I did that. Anyways, let's keep it Caleb. I think he's got a little ways to grow, but I think Ryan Poles has a lot to do with all of this. He needs to put the infrastructure around him so that he can grow. And that's my problem with the whole thing. We can talk about stats, realize it and recognize it. The stats are hollow. Those numbers only serve, to make Bears fans, like, again, look at how low the bar is for Bears fans. It only serves to make Bears fans go, you know what, maybe we've got a semi-viable quarterback. And right now, that's about what we have. Semi-viable. What we bought, what we invested in, all of us, was a generational quarterback. And maybe this season wasn't a generational season. Facts are, it's up to Ryan Poles now. Nobody else. Screw Kevin Warren. We don't know who the head coach is going to be. It's up to Ryan Poles to put that infrastructure around the kid, hug him, embrace him, and set him off to school, right? So that hopefully next year we can see some improvement with the Chicago Bears as opposed to, one more year of regression.
Well, according to Caleb, he doesn't need that hug and a pat on the back. He needs a foot up the ass.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Well,
that's exactly where my mind
hopefully is. That hug is from somebody who will put that foot up his ass.
Well, here's the thing. Ryan Poles ain't putting no foots up asses. So hopefully he hires a coach that will.
That's what's needed.
So it can't be no foot. It needs to be foots, plural. Foots. No such thing as feet. I don't know where you heard you motherfucker got raised the wrong way and you went to the wrong school. It's foots.
That makes holy cow! He brought yo, Patty, you're getting your feet sucked tonight, Patty. MC Fact, bro. Dave Kaplan was saying it, man. He was saying something just about Caleb's work ethic, and it was something he heard from other people. And I watched that particular episode of 670, and I believe it was before I think it was Black Monday. I think actually it might have been Black Monday before they decided to retain Ryan Poles.
Well,
But
if you
I
listen to
heard
just listen to all the comments, not just Cap, not just Komet, but everybody kind of alluded to the fact of, yeah, we need to get more astute, we need to work harder, and it was all basically saying, yeah, we was expecting more, but it didn't happen. We was expecting more out of the offensive line. We was expecting more out of the receivers. We were expecting more out of the quarterback. And as a rookie quarterback, he didn't, put forth the effort that we thought he would. Maybe he just thought, hey, I'm Superman. I can do this shit. But he found out that, oh, shit, that shit don't work in the NFL. I'm going to have to learn how to, be on time, how to work from under center, how to read defenses, how to anticipate, which is all of the things that were negatives of him coming out.
Yeah. It's true.
And so we see it's like, oh, yeah, his deep accuracy, oh, yeah, it's kind of shitty. His anticipation is like, yeah, that's not too good. He's very nimble and mobile in the pocket, but he still got sacked 68 times. So, what good did that do us? How many sacks did not happen because he didn't throw the ball? Or how many sacks happened because he didn't throw the ball? Is that another 10 off the tally? Throw the ball away if you can't get the open guy. Is that another 20 off? Things aren't as bad as they seem. They aren't always as good as they seem. And we're right in this space where it's like, well, this went wrong, that went wrong, fix this, fix that. We should be good. It's up to Poles to fix those things, namely offensive line. And it's up to Caleb and his own personal responsibility to get better at the deficiencies that he knows he has, so that when he comes into practice with whoever the new head coach is, we're not concerned about many of the things because he's already addressed those and worked on them, which is we're hoping that's what this offseason is for.
You know what? King Booker says, starting to think that Hard Knocks was the worst thing that happened to this team. Every one of you podcasters that are secretly watching this show, secretly hate watching this show and don't want to comment when we're having the show, because we had about 150 people strong the entire time. I don't know another podcast that can do podcasts for 3.5 hours. We get it fucking done, and it's not a dull moment the whole time. So all you motherfuckers that are secretly watching this thing and not chatting, you podcasters, I wish one of you motherfuckers would go and take this question that King Booker said, and it's not a question, it's a statement. Starting to think that Hard Knocks was the worst thing for this team, that happened to this team. We're going to talk about that some more on some extra sauce. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some of that. It's because that was something I was talking about before the season, and everybody else is just like, no, we want to see it. Okay. But look at us now. Look at us now. So don't try to steal that idea, because we definitely going to talk about that a little more. Don't you guys think that's a worthwhile conversation? Don't give them too much, Kedz and Trips.
It's definitely worth a conversation. I feel the exact opposite. So we'll touch on it for real and earnest, I guess, on Wednesday. But I think it was the best thing to happen to this organization because I'm serious. Because it framed everything that we just went through this season. It literally framed it and put it on Front Street. And here we are.
It fricasseed our asses, man. What are you talking about?
Come on.
How about this? Let me pass it on to the Canuck for some pleasantries before we get out here. Everybody make sure that anybody that didn't subscribe to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening and not chatting, if you're chatting, you subscribe to the channel. But everybody that's listening and didn't subscribe, hit the subscribe button, man, because all we're going to do is give you great-ass coverage. Who can do this for 3.5 hours and keep you totally engaged? Nobody. This is what we do over here, but give them a shout-out, kids.
Nobody. Quote Chris King.
Nobody.
Hey, yo.
Keep sweat, baby.
Another Sunday night. Nomad at night, doing the darn thing as per normal. Shout out to all you guys in the chat. Shout out to all 140 plus strong. I'm gonna try and go through some of these names, but I don't think I'm gonna go through all 140 of you. Unless you get in there now in the chat and I see your name, maybe I'll get to it. If I don't, I'm sorry. But things were lively. Just understand again, this ain't none there. I saw the word hate out there in the chat. This ain't hate.
No, it is hate because we only won 5 goddamn games. I fucking hate that.
All right. Well, I hate that too. That part I hate as well. But it's not hate for the quarterback is really what I'm trying to say.
Right. I mean, it's basically saying, hey, he's not perfect, and here's where he's not perfect. Here's what we need to see improvements on to win more than 5 goddamn games.
And that's it. That's what it is. Like if he was perfect, we would not be rolling out of this season with 5 wins, right? So there's room for improvement. There's room for him to grow. We hope that he will. I believe that he will. Again, I'm a little bit more fussed on the things around him and whether he has the infrastructure he needs to be successful. I think the verdict is still out on that. And I think Ryan Poles has a lot to do to improve those things. But I'm gonna keep.
By the way, Rivera says, don't forget the Green Bay Packers have been eliminated from the playoffs.
FGB.
Why? Because fuck them. That's why.
That's why. That's a great track too. There's a track. It's a punk track. I'm telling you, it's a punk track by Cage. Cage is a rapper, but it's a punk track called "Fuck You." That's why. Great track. Anyways. Shout out to my guy Hairbear. We'll start out with you, man. Always good to have you, bro. We gotta get you on the show one of these days, man. I miss it. Hairbear chopped it up with us early when we kind of started things out. It would be great to have you back, my dude. Maybe on my channel. King Book of Worlds all over the chat, keeping it real, man. Same with ATF, the good chief. What it do? MC Fact out there doing the darn thing in the chat. OKC Bear Boy, we get it. You love Caleb, and we do too. And hopefully next season, that 35+ 100 yards turns into 4,000 yards. That's what I'm talking about. Marlon Johnson, what's cracking? My guy Zach, good to see you out there in the chat, man. Mick Foley, the Mandible Claw. That's what I'm going to call you from now on, the Mandible Claw, bro. You know what it is. That's some wrestling shit. Pipeline J, Cornell Bryant, Leo Factor, my guy Leo. Always good to have you, Leo. Who else we got out there in the chat, man? Jeez, this thing's super crazy today, man. You guys were on fire for the most part. I was going to give a shout out to the Nomad Network, but that's us. Flex Diggs, big shout out to you, dog. Dr. Earl, oh yeah, the good doc was in here. Big shout out to our guy, Miguel Goncalves. Got to say it with the R roll. It just works perfectly. Thanks for giving us a little bit of love with that earlier super chat. Thanks, Miguel. We appreciate it. We can definitely use the support as far as the network is concerned. The homie Juju was out there doing the darn thing. What a do, Juju? What's popping? Who else we got? Bear Truth 9 was with us for a little bit today. Jay Sanders was out there doing the darn thing. My guy Triple R underneath me is here, kicking it. Sports Chicago style. By all means, check him out. Ricky Leahy was out there with his rum and coke. Always good to have you, Ricky, man. Respect and big ups to you. Who am I missing out there? Dennis Moody and Derek Carter, both of y'all was in here with us. Man, gotta be a couple more heads out there, man. So many more. But for the most part, I'm just gonna be real, man. Oh, Kevin Scott, shout out to you. Big ups, man. Big ups. Who else am I missing? Anybody? There's so many folks here. So many chats. Oh, Black Diamond, Black Rain. Big up to both of y'all for coming through and hanging out, keeping it real in the chat.
You ain't gonna find them. You ain't gonna get to them all, kids.
Man, like it's tough, bro. So you know what? I'm gonna call
Just
it.
tell them you love them, man. Just tell them you love them. They know it's real.
I'm gonna call it a day here. He caught me, and big ups to all you guys. By all means, check out at Kedz the Canuck. That's my site. I'll be starting to pump out some head coaching stuff over there as well. By all means, follow us right here next week on Wednesday and on Sundays for these shows. Nomad at Night and the Extra Sauce Show. Always awesome kicking it with my homies here. Triple R, what it do, my brother?
I just want to say that no matter how much we disagree on who the head coach should be or what players should be signed or drafted, we all want the same thing. We all want this team to win.
Yep.
It's just how to get there. You know what I mean? And that's what we can't agree on, because it's like, well, none of this shit has worked before. Why don't we try this, that, or the other? And until we at least have a direction and identity for this team, the Bears fans that are, spending time in this chat with the season over, the amount of Bears fans that are going to spend time, with Kedz and his draft previews on the Nomad Network or with Sports Chicago style during the entire offseason is just crazy, because we just want to fucking win. That's all. Is that too much to ask? It seems so. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. So shout out to everybody that, shared your input, your thoughts, that's like, oh, no, y'all just hating. It's like, yeah, whatever the fuck. Thanks for sharing. Sports Chicago style, subscribe, that's the channel that I run with the team of Coach Tripping, Chef Trips, and of course Trip, as we bring you content, lifestyle stuff, recipes, exercise programs, self-defense, and your Chicago sports talk. Thank you.
Hey, number one, I'm gonna announce this, and Trips and Kedz can let me know. I talked to Trips a little bit about it before the show, but we definitely plan on doing Sports Chicago style podcasts over there. We're gonna try to bring the crew alive over there and really try to get it bumping over there so people know exactly what Trips has got going on, and try to bring the No Maniac flavor and that shit all the way over there to Trips, because I keep telling everybody all the time, we want to see everybody win over here. And so Trips has got his channel going on over there. We want to make sure we bring the water to flower that garden over there and get his shit going. Right now, he's got stuff going on, trying to make sure he gets his edits together. But when he's got time, we will do some podcasts over there. And for whatever he needs and anything that we can bring, make sure the No Maniacs show up and show out. I will announce when we're going over there and give everybody a heads up before we do it. And the same thing with Kedz over on Kedz the Canuck channel, man. We're going to do the same exact thing over there. Bring that podcast, bring that energy over there. And that's what we should be doing for each other. And so gladly, I can't wait until they ask me and say, hey, no, man, it's time. It's time to come over here and do some podcasts. I need you over here. I can't wait, because I want to see them win too. So we're going to bring that energy over there too. And, before we get out of here, I want to say thank you to these guys for being here tonight. I want to say thank you to the No Maniacs for making sure that we just did this for 3.5 hours and we just gained viewers. It was strong the entire night. Why? It's because it's never a dull moment when we're having a football conversation. Never. And what we're talking about is just real legit stuff that we should say and that people seem to be hesitant to say. And I don't know why. You know what I mean? We can't get into corners and get into tribes and get all tribal about this, that, and the third, and not fully understand that we are all Bears fans. We all are blue and orange. And we may not see the same things in the same way. But don't get disillusioned about none of this stuff. This shit, we are in it together. We are in this shit together. And we can be fractioned off and separated from each other, and everybody wants to go watch this podcast and they don't want to watch that podcast because they don't like what's being said over there. To fucking understand this shit is to understand that we want to see wins on the board, period. How we get there is how we get there. Being critical about what we being critical about, pay no attention to that shit. Just know it's just pure love in the room, because we're Bears fans. Just know that. But let me give a quick shout out to, I got to give my first shout out to my lady that let me do this for 4 hours today on her off day. She let me do that with you guys, and I appreciate her for letting me do it, because she could have been in here and been Groucho Marx about it. You know what I mean? And been mad. And this is my day off. Why are you acting like an asshole? It's my time. But she didn't do that. And she, like she always does, man, there's nothing but hold me down for whatever I'm doing over here. So love my baby. And I appreciate her for doing that. No, I'm not touching her feet. I don't roll like that. That's all Trips. And I'll leave that to him. Well, with that being said, I'll send you her socks, Trip. Her work.
Just sniff them a little bit. Sniff them a
Real
little
extra
bit.
sauce episode tonight. Real extra sauce. Sweet baby great.
But you know how people look at, like, depending on, like, guys, if you like women with large boobies or IBTCs, itty bitty committees, or if you like a nice big buttocks, nice
all them
round, or, nice long legs, maybe a pretty smile, maybe some full lips, maybe some bedroom eyes, long hair, whatever it may be. We all have our interests that are piqued by certain body parts.
She definitely got the titas. I'll tell you that.
Hey,
But that's between me and her.
not anymore.
Well, with that being said, let me get you guys up out of here. Appreciate everybody for showing up. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out the door. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. You'll be helping out some really cool ass gentlemen that really were trying to do something with this podcast. But we appreciate you guys. And join if you can afford $4.99 a month. Hope everybody here can afford $4.99 a month. Hit that join button and become a member of the channel. You help out some guys that's trying to move this podcast forward. But with that being said, we got to get out of here with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, people, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Don't be a prisoner of your mind. But with that being said, we are